sir?
Sure, sure.
Just briefly, in 2 minutes, I am introducing all, and then we will start the session.
Sure.
Akhilesh, sir, you can make it live, sir.
It's live.
Yes, we have on my screen. I'm talking about from left to right. In my screen, first person is Professor Sanjeev Marwa, Director, JK Business School, Gurugram. We welcome you, sir. Then we have Professor Jitendra Kumar Misra, Director, Jaipuria School of Business. We welcome you, sir. Then we have Dr. Kanaklata, Director, Metro College of Health Sciences from Greater Noida. We welcome you, sir. Then in second row, we have Professor K.K. Agrawal, sir, Chairman, National Board of Accreditation and mentor to CEGR and a guide and very strong pillar to CEGR. Then we have Professor Neha Sharma, Director, Santi Business School, Ahmedabad. Then we have Mr. Kumar Shekhar Bijendra, National President, CEGR and Chancellor, Soviet University. Then we have Professor Ravi Kumar Jain, Director, Symbiosis Institute of Business Management and Hyderabad. Then we have Dr. Sandeep Pachpande, Chairman, ASM Group of Institute and National Vice President, CEGR. Then we have Mr. Manish Kothari, Founder and MD, ISBR Business School, Bengaluru. Then we have Dr. Amol Gawande, Director, Dr. D.Y. Patil B School, Pune. Then we have Mr. P. Sriram, Chairman, Chennai Institute of Technology, Chennai. Then we have Dr. Anil Kharia, Chairman, Modern Group of Institution, Indore. Then we have Dr. Arvind Agrawal, Chairman, Arya Group of Colleges and President, CEGR Rajasthan State Council. Then we have Dr. Puneet K. Dwivedi, Group Director, Modern Group of Institution. We welcome you all, and with the permission of all, we are starting the event. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second management conclave by Center for Education Growth and Research. Center for Education Growth and Research is the leading and only education think tank in India, created with 4 innovations. With over 10,000 aligned academicians, corporate and researchers, the CEGR National Council includes 70+ vice chancellors from all over India. CEGR with 20+ active state council is regularly organizing national seminar, conference, webinar on various relevant issues and sends recommendations to various stakeholders. In the series of initiatives, today we are organizing second management conclave to deliberate on way forward for management education and various other relevant issues faced by management education in India. Today, we have very strong panel headed by our mentor, Professor K.K. Agrawal, Chairman, NBA and youngest professor in India. We have also Mr. Kumar Shekhar Bijendra, National President, CEGR and Chancellor, Soviet University. And before that, I introduced a very strong panel to all the persons. So we welcome you all to the second management conclave. And this event is live on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media. So we are expected a very large audience to watch this event through the various social media. So we are very grateful to every participants and all the distinguished panel. Now I call upon Mr. Kumar Shekhar Bijendra, National President, CEGR and Chancellor, Soviet University, to present the welcome and opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ravish. I am afraid there must be some music from the background. In my neighborhood, something is happening, and I am helpless on that. So you have to bear with that. So good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, on behalf of CEGR and my own behalf, I welcome everybody on this wonderful second management conclave organized by CEGR. It is always an honor to have Professor K.K. Agrawal, Chairman, National Board of Accreditation and our mentor with us. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us always on a short notice and for guiding us, inspiring us to go in the right direction and to move forward in the right direction. As the Chairman of NBA, your role is very important in the nation, and we all are looking forward for your guidance and support in all ways as it is given to us. I welcome all other wonderful panelists, my colleague in CEGR, Dr. Sanjeev Pachpande, and all other colleagues of the day. The idea of this management summit today, if we look at the management education, so it dates back late 1950s, if I'm not wrong, formal management education. And generally it is doing good. Like it is fulfilling the need of the students and the need of the employer. But if it is so, and the parameter, what we generally feel that salary is the parameter of the quality, that is also fulfilled up to some extent. But if we look at the different aspect of management education, what is happening today, on every organization, in every business, there are different societal pressures today, which need to be addressed. Like every business has to work on climate crisis. Every business is today expected to work as an agent for social change also. But generally in our B schools, we are not addressing these issues. We are not talking about it. We also have a B school at Shobit University, which is one of the oldest B school of this part of the nation in Northern India. So our 27th batch of MBA is coming this year. So I understand that many times we all are myopic. However, we are finding places, we are finding specializations where we are telling, okay, job kahan milega, where my boys and girls can get job, that's all. But what are the other changes they need to be addressed, and we all have to work in that direction. So I always believe that now there has to be a balance where competition is one of the parameter, cooperation has to be the second parameter. And that cooperation has not only to be with the B schools, this cooperation has to be with the progress of the society also. So if I look at the challenges, so I can divide it in three categories majorly, which need to be addressed in our course curriculum, in our pedagogical changes we have to bring. One is that there are stakeholders of different types in business now. It is not one type. It means our students need to be trained accordingly. Because earlier we were talking about BA, business administration. So now from administration, we have to work in different directions, also in a cooperation also. So different type of stakeholders, what are the needs, how we have to address, and one size does not fit all. That has to be seen, and we have to work in that direction. The thing what I have mentioned, the reality of climate change. Every company has to work in that direction. But in our B schools, we are not talking about climate change. What is that science all about? What are the concerns all about? And these climate change issues, it is not only the business schools that they have to address them at their own place only, but they have to cooperate with the society, with the government, and they have to give results also. Because today business depends that how sustainable, climate sustainable models you have. Otherwise you may fail. But the young boys and girls, those who are coming out of these schools, generally they are lacking this knowledge. So I think that also need to be addressed in our course curriculum, which is very important. Necessity of inclusivity. Whenever I talk about, I always have a concern that we are creating people, those who are having a zeal to compete with others. I want to be the best leader. So from this me to we, this journey has to be there, and from me to we, that M has to be just shifted to W. So this from me to we, from I to we have to come, and that inclusive approach has to be even taught in our B schools, what generally we are not thinking about much. So these are some of the points what I feel, and when inclusivity is there, it is not only the diversity, it is not only about being a global citizen, it is about many other things. Inclusivity with the environment, again, I am coming on the climate thing. Inclusivity with other issues of the society, inclusivity with the local problems. Those need to be addressed. What generally I feel in our B schools, we are not addressing much. And I'm sure that today with very eminent panel in inaugural session as well as in our technical session, we will be in position to discuss and deliberate on these issues. I know one webinar cannot address everything, but some discussion will start, debate will start, maybe some white paper will come, as Professor Neha Sharma mentioned and volunteered herself. And we will be in position to come and see that how inclusively, how together we can work. I'm happy that we have today representation from diversified schools. We have promoters also with us, we have directors also with us, and we have a mentor also with us. So I'm sure that these all issues we will address today. And the last issue, what I generally feel is that in our B schools, we are not talking much, is ethical values. Some of us are having a paper, but how to make good citizens, good human beings, that part is not a part of the training at all. That also has to be seen and addressed if we really want good managers in our country, which is needed, if we really want good business leaders for the future, because we have to think about the business leaders of the coming 25 years, not today. So we are looking forward for your suggestions. We are looking forward for your ideas. We are looking forward to understand your experiences, exposure. And again, I welcome you today and thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. Over to you, Ravish.
Thank you, CEGR Vijay sir, for covering entire. Now, I request Professor Ravi Kumar Jain, Director, Symbiosis Expert, to present his view. And we also welcome Professor R.K. Soni, Advisor AICT, to the second CEGR Second Management Conclave. We welcome you, sir. And over to Ravi Kumar Jain, sir.
Thank you, Ravish ji. Shri Kubar Shekhar Vijendra ji, Professor K.K. Agarwal, Professor Soni, Dr. Jain, Dr. Agarwal, and Dr. Manish Kothari, as I see in this, and Dr. Jatendra Mishra, as I see in this inaugural session. At the outset, let me extend my gratitude to CEGR, the entire governing board, and especially to Ravish ji for making me part of this very important conclave and be among the stalwarts and thought leaders of management education of the country. Since last year, ever since NEP has been announced, and also we have gone through massive crisis, which also helped us in kind of expediting our technology adoption, both at individual level and institutional level. We have been deliberating about the future of management education, how management education is going to be like, and so on and so forth. Enough has been talked about it. A lot of representations have been given and all. So today I thought, as a precursor to the technical session and the other thoughts which other stalwarts are going to present, there are two aspects which occur to my mind when I look at my own school and its own future. And when somebody asks me what keeps you awake at night, when you look at, in the context of running a business school, there are a few things that I was looking at. Essentially, what keeps me awake is how the future is going to be like in terms of my cost structures, structure of my programs, structure of my campuses, whether we will be needing these massive campuses that we have right now, how the program MBA or PGDM as such is going to shape up, so on and so forth. There are several questions that pop up. So there are two forces which are shaping up or rather forcing us to think towards designing a new or craft a new management education the way it is going to be relevant tomorrow. The first major driver is rapid change in the workplace. COVID, no COVID, technology, no technology. The way the workplace is transforming is at a massive pace, and that triggers the need for change in skill sets. When there is a change in skill sets required, then obviously that reflects, because as business schools, we are all driven by placements. See, and the proof of the pudding for all of us, the measure of success, our major, whether we admit or not, the major measure of success for us is what is our placement record, and obviously the related parameters of salary, profile, companies, and so on and so forth. So with gig economy coming in, we see that 30% of workforce is going to be on a gig economy basis, or on a gig assignment basis, basically. So when the skill set required are changing rapidly, it will have an implication, or it will have a demand on us we have to pivot our curriculum and also the delivery model to match up to that skill sets. Otherwise, we will run the risk of rendering ourselves irrelevant or not be able to be in the race. So that change in workplace triggers a series of change at a business school, from curricular change to pedagogy change in the very structure of the program itself. Will this 2-year program be relevant going forward? Or are we going to offer, or will be required to offer, more modular programs, more specialized programs, more programs on a learn at your pace basis, and so on? Second aspect, which is a followed of this, when all these aspects change, the major change that impacts me immediately is my cost structure. The cost of administering the course, the cost of running the institution. What are the parameters, of what factors and what aspects will have an impact on my cost, and to what extent? Now, this is anybody's guess, and I would say the entire model is shifting. So our cost structure has to be completely reworked. So we have to reimagine the way we are administering our course, and what is the cost structure for us. Second force, which is compelling us to, or pushing us forward for change, is obviously the policy, NEP. Again, enough has been said. We are talking about multidisciplinary and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, management education doesn't find any mention in the NEP. That's a very sad state, and whether you call it MBA or PGDM, it is not sufficiently addressed in NEP. We don't know. It is best known to the makers of this policy, or the architects of this policy. But somewhere when they say multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, 4 E's are demanded from us. Expansion, that is, you increase your scale, have 2,000, 3,000 students per campus, and so on. Excellence, both academic and research. Equity, equal access of education to all, and employability. These 4 are implicit demands that NEP, makes at us, all business schools. Now, structurally, does that support? Is it sustainable, or are we prepared to absorb that? The answer may not be very comfortable, and it's very, if not emphatic, no, I would say it's hesitating. Structurally, we have to be non-profit as an institution, suffering with so-called insufficient budgets eternally. 80% of the schools, especially the PGDM or the affiliated colleges, have a challenge of budgetary insufficiency throughout all the time for a variety of reasons. Innovation gap. Some of the institutions at the top are very good. They are able to keep pace with the innovation, whether it is pedagogy or delivery model. I call it as mode, method, model, right? All 3 M's they're able to address. But a chunk of us, or many of us, we have our own challenges, and that creates innovation gap. whether it is program innovation or delivery innovation or pedagogical innovation. And third is fine. I mean, the low policy support. As I said, there is no mention and hence there is no provision made for us in the policy. And I think in the opening remarks and when we were having a freewheeling discussion, somebody actually mentioned about having a white paper where we can give a representation to the policy makers. My AIMS is doing a good job, EPSI and other bodies are doing good job in terms of trying to put together these thoughts and take it to this is more reactive in nature right now. We could have been proactive. We didn't see this coming. And after almost a year and a half, we are trying to talk to the ministers and the architects of the policy to say what kind of support that we can get. And the final aspect is about scale. Now, are we placed well to so-called achieve the scale which is expected by the NEP? I am sure 95% of the institutions would say no. And this whole idea of multidisciplinary, is it relevant? I mean, are we talking about multidisciplinary aspect of the program, which is already an MBA program is multidisciplinary, or we are talking about multidisciplinary as an institution? If it is at institution level, most of the PGDM institutions or standalone institutions, whether in terms of infrastructure or their management muscle, they are not well prepared or equipped to scale up to so-called multidisciplinary, and that will hamper the demands, that is scale that it calls for. So my submission, or maybe some leading thoughts I'm leaving you with here is demands of the market in terms of the workplace shifts and the consequent changes on all the entire business school, the way it is run and way the programs are designed, and the demands of the policy and the rapidity of change in technology, that is the demand of the student community. All three actually are like, we are being sandwiched with rapid change in all these three aspects, and the demands are pretty high, and we have to really introspect or look at ourselves and see, are we prepared to absorb this? How well? And what would be the implication if we are not able to address some of these? So I think with those opening remarks, I would hand over the podium to all other esteemed speakers with one last comment is, whether we get scale or not, we have to get these 3 M's in place gradually. That is mode, method, and model. The mode of education, thanks to COVID, we could adopt quickly, and we are, from online to offline to hybrid, we could switch the mode of delivery. But that is not sufficient. Going forward in the short run, maybe next 1 or 2 or 3 years maximum, the method, that is the whole choice of pedagogy, the way the teaching learning happens, has to be completely redesigned. So more of experiential learning, immersive learning, and so on, using technology to the hilt to be able to create that immersive learning experiences. And in the long run, going forward, again, as I said, from the demands of policy, market, and technology, the model of management education itself needs to be reimagined, where we talk about the structure of the degree, the duration of the degree, and so on and so forth. So all these 3 M's have to be thought through now, so that we can prepare ourselves, gear ourselves to be able to address it. Thankfully, mode, we have addressed. Few of our friends are still doing the catching up part, but I'm sure with technology being ubiquitous and available, affordable and all, they're all going to make it. But as far as method and model are concerned, unless we are proactive and start preparing ourselves now, and if these things should not find place in our boardroom discussions, then I think we are taking a huge risk. So we need to be prepared on these 2 aspects and try to address that going forward. So this, these are my thoughts on the future of management education from the perspective of the business school that I am running. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thanks a lot once again, CEGR and the entire management of CEGR. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ravi Kumar Jain, Director, Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Hyderabad, for your wonderful views and enlightening us with many of the new insights of the management education. Thank you, sir. And now I call upon Mr. Manish Kothari, founder and MD, ISBR Business School, Bengaluru. Over to you, sir.
Namaste, everyone. And thank you, Ravish, for the introduction and getting me to this forum. Ravi Kumar Jain, I think we shared platform together in Bangalore. So nice to see you here again. Sandeep Pachpande also is a close friend. So nice to see him here. Dr. Kuvarji, I think I have always been impressed by the work that you do, and your systematic approach to things have been amazing. I think that's good. I am so happy to see Professor KK Agrawal ji here. I think he is the right example of showcasing of how accreditation, which was a pain in the nose of institutions, has been a systematic approach for education institutions to move forward. Agrawal ji, namaste, and thank you for that work that you're doing.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I should appreciate that because I have seen both that side of the coins, the pain as well as the blessings, and that's why it is necessary to be thankful to you all. A special thank to RK Soni ji, AICTE. Our first approval when we took in 2010, when the whole process was online, we were bombarded with people saying that AICTE and approval is the most difficult thing to expect. But from 2010 till now, the journey that I have seen AICTE has taken up has been exactly of what ease means in education. What has been spoken of is truly practice. So these changes, if they have happened, I'm sure the brains behind, thanks to also Anil Sahasrabuddhe-ji, we both come from a place, Hubli, and I found that education institution needs such people, and only then the changes can happen. So RK Soni-ji, thank you for being the advisor.
Thank you, Mr. Kothari. Thank you so much.
Yes, and on this great day today, because the platform has been given for us to be speaking about the future of management education, I'm specifically going to talk about PGDM institutes. 10 minutes is what is being given. I would like to justify for where PGDM institutes are, where we need to reach, and what support that we need. I love the way Ravi Jain said that yes, there need to be a supporting hand that is required, and how this can be done. I would not speak of only problems. I would like to end with the solution and the roadmap that we could take together to make this happen. Question number 1, NEP. Is it a great thing to our country? Of course, yes. The new education policy by itself is a dynamic process. The complete primary education till the secondary education and the higher education has been cleanly guidelined, and a direction has been given to education. Should we all follow it? I'm sure we don't have any choice, but yes, it is a great move for our country, and I can see a vision for education. So that's a great move that has happened. But in this whole structure, we have defined how a university should operate. We have defined how a school should operate. We have defined what is a quality institution going to be all about. We have defined what is the infrastructure requirements. We have defined the faculty requirements. Somewhere, one chapter should have been dedicated to these specialized management institutions, to these institutions who are so-called the PGDM institutions. Yes, we focused on IAMs by a separate bill, but let's look at these PGDM institutions. These are one institutions wherein even though the fee structures are higher than MBA colleges across the country, the seats of PGDM institutions are filled first and better compared to MBA institutions. Why is that so? It's a faith that the real stakeholders who are these students have imposed on such PGDM institutions, because they know that these PGDM institutions works very closely with the corporates and the stakeholders, and they keep tweaking their programs. Family business management, which was not there anywhere, got into our country through a PGDM institution. supply chain management and operations came as a core management program through PGDM institutions. You have business analytics, which became a core specialization again through the PGDM institutions. Now you have sports management that is taken up by institutions like ours and many PGDM institutions, because the country is seeing a great change in the management of sports. Now, all this has happened because of the autonomy that AICT and the bodies have given PGDM institutions. And that is why we are building on back to back and seeing that the output is given. Ravi spoke about the placements. Let's look at the placements of these PGDM institutions compared to all the other business schools or the management institutions. You will find that the PGDM institutions, 90% of them have got 80+% of placements. Now, how is that possible? Do you think that a recruiter will just come and pick any Tom, Dick and Harry? No. They will pick a student who has the real skill, who has the passion, and who has the taste to develop that organization to the next level. It is happening because of PGDM institutions. And these PGDM institutions have done it because of the autonomy that was given to them. Now, when this NBA comes into picture, when this NEP comes into picture, you talk of 3,000 numbers of students at one level. At one level, you talk of only doctorates teaching this education, which has not been true with these PGDM institutions. We are used to 500 numbers in our campus. We are used to 50% of doctorates teaching and 50% of industry heads and bodies coming and teaching these programs. And that is why the churning of the students has been so qualitative. So what I am trying to tell this body and the CEGR board here, or Professor R.K. Soni ji, or Professor K.K. Agrawal ji, is that this PGDM institution should not be looked upon like a university. They have to be looked upon as those specialized institutions that are catering to the specialized need of industry, giving them the real managers, not at the entry level, but at the mid-level and senior levels, and which these companies are recruiting. The whole outcome here is the students are recruited even before. We are in the month of October now, and our batch, which is going to get graduated in June, we are 80% placed, and the average package is 8 lakhs to these students. Now, why this could be possible? It's because of the autonomy that we are going through. Now, suddenly when the burden of 3,000 number has come on a promoter's head like me, my whole thought process has started changing. Should we cater to 1:1 as a student, or should we become now 1:many? Don't you think, Agrawal ji or R.K. Singh ji, that this is going to hamper us? What am I trying to say is, for such individual institutions, do have a number. Instead of 3,000 numbers at large, give us a 1,000 number bracket. What we were 500 numbers, we will increase to 1,000 by working with many working professionals too. But that is a desired number that can be done. A 3,000 generalized number becomes difficult. What I want CEGR is, please make a white paper together, note down these points, make this as a policy document. Please meet people like A.K. Agrawal ji, who have been so supportive in nature. Meet R.K. Soni ji, who will stand with us, because finally they are us and we are them. We are, even though they are policy makers, they want policy makers for us. They will not like to trouble us. They would like to work with us. And instead of just going multi-domain, can we get into multidiscipline, which we already are? Marketing, finance, HR, IT, operations, supply chain, family business management, information technology. We are already doing this. Can we move from an infrastructure specification of acres together to what we are exactly doing now? The type of faculty specification, instead of 100% doctorates, we should be allowed to select people from industry at one stature, which we are already doing. If this proposal is done, which I was with AIMS last week, which I discussed with EPSI. All of them are doing it, and they wish to represent it this month or the next month. But if CEGR also does this, then at all levels, when we go together, policymakers will understand that there is a need here, and somewhere this part is missed out, or they would have some better things to talk about. The present policy talks about QS ranking. I believe our AICT CII ranking is far stronger than any other ranking. There is no ranking in this country or in the world which has been done with CII body on board. When they have rated platinum to an institute like ours for 5 years, that means there is something in us to have that autonomy. Why do we have to again look at a QS ranking which talks about their structure, their stature? Yes, but we have started working on it because the AICT forum has told us that only when you are a part of the international ranking or the NIRF top 100. I have a very specific thing to talk about NIRF here. NIRF talks about engineering institutions. It talks about universities. What happens to standalone institutions? Don't we deserve a top 100 for standalone management institutes in the country? This was spoken of in a few forums. I'm so blessed to have KK Agrawal ji here. I wish that NIRF has a separate space for us so that we can speak of what we are doing with 500 students or 600 students in our institutions and the type of industry achievements we have. We have boards of each specializations being represented. This has to be seen. I'm just requesting that now when you have got about 20, 30 institution heads, I'm proud of the type of people that have come up. Let us together as a team under the leadership of Kuwar Vijendra ji or any other person who would like to take up. We are all there. Let us create a paper, go to these bodies and tell them that this is what can be done. I'm sure they are ready to accept and make it happen. I think that's all from my side. I wish that India is known for its unique institutions called PGDM, which no other part of the world has. Why do we give up this Indianized body to just making universities across the country just because US is doing it or any other country is doing it? We are blessed to have institutions like us. And I'm telling you, we have done justice and we deserve to get some space in this NEP and including the NIRF ranking. With this, namaste to one and all for giving us a forum, and thank you once again. Over to you, Mr. Ravish.
Thank you, Manish Kothari, sir, founder and MD, ISPR Business School, for your wonderful views. And now I request Dr. Arvind Agrawal, Chairman, Arya Group of Colleges and President, CEGR Rajasthan State Council, to present his view. Over to you, Dr. Arvind Agrawal, sir.
Thank you, Ravishi. First, I would like to acknowledge the presence, and we feel pride that our mentor, Professor KK Agrawal ji, the mentor of CGR and the chairman of NBA, is with us, and our mentor and president CEGR, Chancellor Sobit University, Kanwar Shekhar Vijendra is there, our officer, Professor R.K. Soni ji, advisor AICT there, and the galaxy of lot of academicians and the management people are there. On behalf of CGR, I welcome them. And I believe that this discussion is going to be very fruitful. And I believe that any discussion without decision is a disaster. So we have to prepare a white paper. We have to put all the inputs of all the learned peoples here, and we have to give the right representation to right bodies so that the right things can be promoted, and we can be a policy maker, and we can make our experience, collective experience. What I see is more than, say, 500 years, and so we are in a very good shape to give the representation to the policy makers and to correct the things which are not there. there are few things which I learned from the previous speakers are that there are a lot of disparities there. I am from engineering side. We have 4 engineering colleges. They are NEC approved, NBA approved. And because NRIF has become a new name, and these rankings are making us difficult to promote a quality education. As previous speaker have told that 80% placement has been done. I will like to inform you, the panel from engineering side, that we don't have the dates to give to the companies. Companies are left and right on us to give the good candidates. 3-4 companies has adopted us that your students are good and we are going to continue with the placement with the next year to the next year. And we have conducted so many MOU. So suddenly, because we are into another revolution, everybody has to understand that information technology, which was started in 2000, was a revolution which gave India as a status of superpower, and it lasted for 20 years and give the at least 2 to 3 crore people the employment. That is more than 20 to 30 million people. We are on the cusp of another revolution, which is digitalization or data centric. And this again will last for another 20 years. I am very optimistic. We are the people of India and the engineers and the managers of India, which is going to rule not India, but the whole world. So our policy should facilitate us. We should be acknowledged as the right partners of the country which provide the professionals. We are maybe standalone and maybe self-financed, but we are 80% of the population. We are producing 80% or 90% of the engineers and the manager in the private sector. Government has very few resources to run the premium institutes, but they are giving all kind of support and resources to IITs and IIMs, which is, I think, is not fair enough after 50 years if they are not self-financed and they are not able to run their institution and they have to be dependent on the government expenditure and the support. And we self-finance institution which made like 5,000, and we are producing more than 5 lakh engineers, which is the like MSCME. Just MSCME is the backbone of India. We are the backbone of India. We are the people who are providing engineers to say TCS. TCS this year needs 60,000 engineers, and unfortunately, IIT and JEE and Advanced, everybody only produce 40,000. And out of once they have become engineers, they are going to go out, they are going to channelize into IAS, they are going to go into the finance sector. So hardly 10,000 engineers will be there to cater India. So this is the figures and the managers. And because it is a management conclave, I will like to say my perspective to the all the management authorities here and the chairman and the academia, that management is changing. Actually, management is a specialized way of dealing the things, but it is a right candidate of to go online education. In engineering, there are a lot of labs, so engineering will be never be online. Sir from the Hyderabad was saying that what we will do for the huge infrastructure we have created. Yes, it is a great tragedy that after 20 years of creation of so much of infrastructure and creating everything, we are on a hybrid mode, and 50% of the people are not want to come to the campus and learn, and online education will be a new norm, especially for the management and digitalization, and everything will be governed by technology. So management, because I believe that the marketing aspect, will be digitalized, will be on the maximum on the digitalization, digital marketing and electronic marketing. So we have to learn the new ways how to improve it. The gig workers, what we are talking about, are all about digital marketing. People are not there. So what we are doing is we are sharing the expertise of the gig workers and the managers so that they can give their services to 5 organizations, 7 organizations, because they are expensive to hire also and they are not available also. So the gig workers will be another maybe 100 billion industry or 100 billion management industry for within 5 years. I will like to tell you that the manager has to lead by technology. If he is on the right side of the technology, he will survive. Because if you see Ranveer, he is Ranveer Singh, the actor. He is giving the advertisement about the cryptocurrency. But what is cryptocurrency? How does it work? What is the structure of the cryptocurrency and how it is managed? It will be by the engineers, and engineers, if they come to become managers, that will be a very good sign, and that will lead especially to the unicorns. If you see the unicorns pattern, out of 4 or 5 key persons, 2 or 3 key persons are always from the technology side, and 1 or 2 people are from the management side. And from there, they get funding and they become unicorns over the year. So we are blessed that we are living in the era of unicorns. The management managers has to learn how to create the wealth for others. If he can create the wealth for others, then the managers are good. If he's creating wealth for himself or he's looking for the packages, I think he is not going to last in the market, because the market is very competitive. Return of investment is another thing. If our education become very costly, say I will give the figures of IIM that they are like 12 to 15 lakh rupees they are giving to become.
Dr. Agarwal, you are on mute. Dr. Arvind Agarwal, you are on mute.
MBA. So MBA is a branch we have been given. So we are doing wonderfully good in that also. And the aspect of management will be how to use the resources in a right way and to create resources for the next generation and to create a structure of teaching, academics, and during the teaching, how we are going to get the give the opportunity, real time teaching opportunity to our interns or towards our managers. That will be a challenge. And believe me, we are entering into a second era of revolution. And this is my prediction, that it will take another 20 years and it will create a wealth of not less than $3 to $4 trillion. We will be a $5 trillion within 7 to 8 years by GDP. And we will be requiring our resources, human resources is maximum with us. We have to train them well. We have to give them the best of the knowledge and the technology, and how to give them the managerial skills has to be managed. And I believe the top policy makers like NBA accreditations, NEC, and AICT, UGC, they are going to work very hard to create an environment and ecosystem for the flourishing of the natural talent we have. We Indians have an inherent talent. We have to give them an ecosystem. Why we go to America? Because they have an ecosystem. Why we flourish in America? Because they have the ecosystem. If we create that kind of ecosystem of unicorns, and entrepreneurship, startups, digitalization of everything. So we can be, not only India will be benefited, the whole data process. Data is a very good thing. It can be transferred from one point to another point within a seconds now. With the bandwidth we have, 5G is coming. All the data process can be done in India only. People don't need to go to America and do the work, and they stay in America, and America flourish because of their labor and their GDP growth is there. But if we can bring the data and the business back to India, India will become the new nation and developed nation and a 5 trillion industry. And I believe that everybody is working very hard to make India a superpower. And one question or one apprehension I have is that with the new education policy, when UGC and AICTs almost like work in tandem, so will AICTE will acknowledge NAC accreditation, because NAC accreditation gives autonomy. NB accreditation, as per the Washington Accord, is very important. Our degree becomes equality. I am the youngest, our college is the youngest college in India to get NB accreditation in 4 branches. But NAC give us the autonomy to start the new courses, latest courses, technology-based courses. So policymakers has to understand that you have to give us the autonomy. The government of India and the Ministry of
Sir, please conclude in 1 minute, sir.
Just 1 second. Ministry of Education has given autonomy to higher education institute standalone, but they have put a condition that they should be A in NAC. So what is the next phase of this process in NEP? I will like to ask question from Sony sir, and I will like to ask the question from Honorable Professor K.K. Agarwal Saab. What is going to be there? And thank you for listening me, and thank you Ravish ji for inviting me. And I am with everybody. We will try to put a white paper and put the conclusions demand on this front from CEGR. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arvind Agrawal, Chairman, Arya Group of Colleges, for your wonderful views. Now, I request Dr. Devi Jain, Chairman, Prestige Group of Institution, Indore, a very well-known name in management education in Indore, with NAC A+ grade accredited institutions, and Senior Vice President to CEGR. We look forward to your views, sir. Dr. Devi Jain.
Namaskar. Friends, let me start with a relevant quote. Management is above all a practice where art, science, and craft meet. So very good afternoon, respected Professor K.K. Agarwal, Sir, Chairman, National Board of Accreditation and Mentor CEGR, Dr. Kumar Shekhar Vijendra ji, President of CEGR, and all the dignitaries and learned speakers present in the second management conclave of the Center for Education, Growth and Research. Let me introduce the specific topic I would like to talk is on digitization and automation imperative for future of management education. My topic may sound leaning towards technology and engineering. Why I'm addressing in this management conclave is because in the future, professional decision will depend largely on the enablers of the tech. This would be logical and efficient compared to the decisions taken on experience and whims. The NEP 2020, under the guidance of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, has emphasized convergence of different streams of education. Historical perspective of the management education, I would say management education in India is predominantly a derivative of Western management thought and practice. Occasionally, management schools draw some inferences from Indian shastras and practices. To just give an example, the ancient karma philosophy, along with the victory of integrity and honesty, are amply relevant even today, although stated in our epics. It may be worthwhile to note that management itself is a discipline, has evolved from fundamental disciplines of economics, psychology, commerce and accounting, philosophy, computer science, mathematics, and statistics. The core objective of Western management education is to evolve a system which would be useful to enterprises, industry, and hence society, thereby creating a symbiotic relationship with the stakeholders of the wealth creation process. The enterprise world is obsessed with operational efficiency. This has brought tremendous desire and motivation to top management of organizations to focus on performance quarter to quarter or year to year. Until now, in India, management education is seen as an elitist. Often, young men and women are attracted to management education not because they need some education, exposure, and experience to create something which is useful to the society, but are primarily motivated by the positive economic consequences associated with management education. The modern management education in India emphasizes on performance parameters rather than the long-term consequences of decision making. And to cite an example, recent last 6 to 8 months, the government has started reducing the duties on edible oil, which we are largely dependent on imports, because they wanted to reduce, offer the prices, reduce prices to the consumers. But in the process, we are compromising on the greater self-reliance in developing our own indigenous oilseed production base. So it equips the young men and women to generate wealth. That is what is today people look at. The future of management education, as I see it, presently, the use of digitization and automation is an enabler to improve efficiency, but not as a supporting tool in resolving large, complex social issues. Unfortunately, the management education in India has never connected to the fundamental disciplines from which it has evolved and has become narrow in its content. A handful of management institutions in this country are trying to realign management education by using multi-dimensional approach. Management education was until now focused on general theoretical knowledge. It is now undergoing a massive change through experiential learning. So business in the new world order and what is evolving ecosystem, the reference point and the basis are shifting to the creation of expertise and value based on deep knowledge. The world is rapidly evolving into societal usefulness, value, and outcome-based business. Fearing a realistic extinction in the new world order or envisioning the huge opportunity, large organizations have pivoted their domains, offering and business models to be more relevant to the present and future ecosystem. Several examples supporting this standpoint, such as Reliance, Tata, Adani's, are known cases in point changing business stance. I therefore urge that management institutes have to be nimble to realign their objective and core focus and embrace the opportunity emerging from the fundamental change in business outlook. It is high time we take the management education in India to the next level by changing the approach, focus, and offering to the digitization and automation oriented. The evolution of
This has already embarked, and I'm sure in coming times, digitization will further define management. And if we can see a very recent relevant example is, see how fast the paper money, that is the currency, has been overtaken by digital payment systems. How will digitization and automation redefine management? So many alarms have sounded on the potential for digitization and automation to upend the workforce, especially for easy to automated jobs. But it is in writing on the wall that managers at all levels will have to adapt to the world of automation and robotics. The fact is, digitization and automation will enable the production, administrative tasks, and deliveries to be faster at a lower cost, of better quality, and with more certainty. To give an example is the disruptive innovations using technology such as Ola and even Oyo have driven conventional manual service sector out of contention. Now, enterprises that has not or does not quickly move from the conventional methods to digitization and automation will be obsolete soon and will have to unfortunately face extinction. Modern management education has to make this into cognizance and realign themselves with an overhauled vision and offering. Digitization supported decision-making systems. Let me reiterate, business decisions are no longer based completely on judgment or intuition or hunch feeling. Instant access to real-time data of the enterprise and the market is enabling data-supported decision-making. Managers and business owners are able to take small or critical decisions and apply their insights and knowledge to effectively steer the enterprise towards its corporate objective. If I would like to cite example is the arbitrage through algo trading in stocks and commodity exchanges. So almost on real time, the stocks or commodities are traded from one exchange to other, and the operators made their money or profits. While human judgment is unlikely to be automated, digitization adds enormously to assistance in decision support and data-driven simulations as well as research. Then is to develop social skills and networks. While digitization and automation is the bloodstream of the enterprise, the need for deep social skills critical to networking, coaching, and collaborating is paramount as well. It will help managers to stand out effectively and perform their journeys. With modernization, management education has to ensure to add this in the DNA of their students. The example is the recent pandemic period nearly took away the essence of social interaction from the education. What are the challenges ahead? Management education assumes a certain corporate way of working, which includes discipline, commitment, working hours, and hierarchical accountability. It should be no surprise that the new generation is very rapidly getting averse to this way of working, which needs to be addressed. The geek generation, which has already embraced digitization, considered themselves to be the global citizens, want their independence, express vividly and bluntly, value their expertise and abilities, do not fear anything, cannot work in silos, and have no affinity, or rather low affinity or loyalty to their employers or sector. Top organizations globally are aligning themselves to this hard reality and still have not been able to find a formula to deal with this, the millennial and Gen Z. The example is Google has done away with formal dressing and adherence to the working hours, while employees are passionate about their performance. So let us collectively take cognizance of the changing world around us and make sure that we align the management education to be more relevant to the present and the future. With conviction, let us be part to raise a socially responsible workforce with useful and future-proof management education and equip them with knowledge, values, and capabilities with which they will create and manage enterprise for the value to humankind and the planet Earth. With these words, I thank the organizers for inviting me for this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. David Jain, sir, Chairman, Prestige Group of Institution and Senior Vice President, CEGR. Now I request Professor R.K. Soni, Advisor, AICT, and very great support to us. He was the former director in AICT and in charge of the Atal Academy. He made a world record under the Atal Academy. So we requested for his presence during the second management conclave, and he is regularly supporting CEGR with his presence. Now I request Professor R.K. Soni, Advisor AICT, to present his view. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ravis. First of all, thankful to you and thankful to CEGR who forced me to be here, in fact. My gratitude to Professor Agrawal sir. I should say ki, from the morning, 11 o'clock, I am with sir. Sir was in a meeting, in an EC meeting of AICT, and we were getting guidance from him. So morning 11 to till now, sir was attending perhaps both the management conclave and the EC meeting both together sometime, I feel like. And then, but I could not do that. I left and then I came over here. So thank you so much, sir, for your mentorship, for your guidance and the support. Highly thankful to the Professor Vijendra Kumar sir, because the way he's managing the things, and especially CEGR, the Soviet University, and all these the kind of business is managing, the things are managing, the commendable. So I congratulate you, sir. I just heard the Professor Ravis Kumar Jain ji, and then Dr. Agrawal, then also heard the Manish Kumar Kothari ji, your view. I just wanted to address some of your concern, in fact, little bit, not all the concern, but little bit concern. I'd like to take up that, like to address over here. As we all know that the management education, and what do I want to say, education management is a subdomain of management education. And nowadays, we all are talking about NEP, and that is kind of the great educational management is going to happen, great event of educational management is going to happen. Now it is a reality. Professor Agrawal has been a part of it, and still is a part of it, in fact. A lot of concern have been shown over here about this PGDM institutions. I'll just take up some of the issues here which AICT is addressing. But before that, since a lot of things have been spoken about NEP, just wanted to share one of speaker told that there is no mention about management education. I just wanted to share that there is a lot of things right there in NEP where management education is already included in that. And one of the things which I just wanted to mention, even previous speaker also told that the management education is already a multidisciplinary, and NEP talks about the multidisciplinary education, in fact. And it is going to be reality. We are all going towards that. We are trying to enable those provisions which is mentioned in the NEP in coming years, and include, in fact, many of the things has already been done. AICT was already doing the many of the things, and now with more force or greater momentum, we are enabling those provisions. as far as PGDM institutions are concerned, I should say yes. PGDM institutions are doing wonders, in fact. Dr. Kothari mentioned that 80% placements are being done in PGDM. Yes, very true. And that is the reason students are in line, or there are more students wants to take admission in the great PGDM institution like Symbiosis institution here, and then the ISBR institution is here. So they are intending to take admission in those qualitative institutions. Of course, I should not say that all PGDM institutions are the qualitative in nature. Those who are qualitative in nature, they have been given freedom to increase the intake. I hope all will admit that. Those who are qualitative in nature, they have been given freedom in that. Before I go to specifically that what kind of things we have done for ease of doing business or reducing the compliance burden for by the PGDM institution and for other institutions also, I'd like to mention few things from NEP which are very much relevant with the PGDM institution and management education, in fact, in large. NEP talks about increase in enrollment, that is by 50% by 2035. I hope the management education is going to play a vital role for meeting this particular goal. As already mentioned, that NEP talks about holistic education and multidisciplinary education, which PGDM institution and management education is already into that. And especially when we talk about the technology, no management education can be completed without technology education, in fact, because ultimately the management of industry through technology or even technological intervention is everywhere nowadays. NEP also talks about flexibility of subject. One of the speaker already mentioned that management education is already flexible in subject, but one very important thing where management education has to manage itself, in fact, I'll tell you, and that is a multiple entry and multiple exit. Of course, it is a two-year PGDM education, or if I talk about MBA or management education, whatever, even undergraduate, multiple entry and multiple exit has to be the part of that, which is one major component of NEP. And I hope this management education or educational management I talk about going to adopt these particular things. And then the regulation which has already come out with the UGC, credit transfer and academic bank of credit. If holistically or comprehensively we talk about flexibility in subject, flexibility in institution, in fact, talking about, and then flexibility in place also, and thereafter the credit transfer and academic bank of credit going to be a going to be empowered to the students, in fact, at large. Let's see, the management education is going to adopt these particular provisions of NEP at faster pace. Few more things just wanted to say over here. That is the major reform in going to take up by NEP, that is internalization of education, which management education or the PGDM institution are already doing that. Then integration of vocational, teacher and professional education, that is going to happen after this NEP implemented in true sense. Also, the NETF, that is National Educational Technology Forum, and I hope this National Educational Technology Forum will definitely be the part of, not part of, rather the management education is going to help in this NETF. One of speaker was talking about the use of technology. I just share here some of the points regarding this. Use of technology is going to happen in educational planning, teaching, learning, assessment, administration and management, and of course, regulation. AICT is also doing self-disclosure and minimum human interference for approval. I'll take a few minutes for this kind of things which AICT has done. Just concluding this NEP, the major takeaway of the NEP will be separation of function of the government. Regulation, accreditation, funding, and academic standard setting will be performed by the distinct, independent, and empowered bodies. Increasing choice of and flexibility, that will be the major takeaway. And the last takeaway which I would like to mention over here, that's autonomy for the higher educational institutions. Dr. Kothari was mentioning over here that autonomy should be given. Yes, the autonomy for the higher educational institute is one of the major takeaway from the NEP. I'll take few minutes which AICT is doing for reduction of compliance burden. That's one of the concern of the government also, and particularly this government is focusing that compliance burden has to be reduced. AICT is also taking care of it. Let me share a few points, and I hope all those who are here, the directors of the management institutions and the vice chancellors, they will definitely appreciate that what in AICT we did that for reducing the compliance burden. When compliance burden is reduced, autonomy is given, and I hope what our experience have been, that quality will increase. And if the quality of management institutions are increased, ultimately the students are going to be benefited. What we did, I'll just mention few points, not all. Institute data for existing institution, institute data is getting pop-up in the next year application, so that institute can update information of current year and easily apply for the extension approval. What I mean, for new institution or for the existing institution, there is a single window system. They can apply for the approval, and through the online process, the entire process online. I mean, it is beyond imagination. Before 2 years, in fact, that even inspection is virtual in AICTE, and other bodies are going to adopt this one. Inspection, which was like next to impossible things, like how can inspection be virtual? Yes, nowadays in AICT for last 2 years, inspection are virtual, and AICT has taken decision. Professor Agarwal is a part of our EC meeting. Sir, your video directions, I would like to emphasize over here. For all inspection is virtual nowadays in AICTE. Technical education regulatory charges, that is TER charges, is reduced drastically in AICT, and that is also handled now online. Reduce burden on stakeholders through minimizing number of documents for grant of approval. Those who are coming to us, we are in fact asking now less documents, so that's why the burden is reduced. I would like to mention few more points over here. See, verification of documents and infrastructure facilities for grant of approval for new institution is simplified through online scrutiny, online virtual visits. The entire even appeal hearing committees, all these appeals are being handled only online. No virtual or no human interference is there. No human interaction is there during these scrutiny and visits. Also, just wanted to update to you that technology enabled AI-based chatbot is being enabled now in AICTE, and all the institutions, including management institutions, the PGM institutions are going to be benefited out of that. A few more points, 3-4 points, just want to mention and then conclude over here. All our schemes, including AQI schemes, their evaluation, their applications, and their results, all kind of this business is being done through online system. Then you all know that model curriculum has been developed, including the management education in fact, and the courses in emerging areas also. For all kind of new technologies which are coming, for that model curriculum has been developed. And the last I just wanted to mention over here, that online education is going to be a reality, but especially after this pandemic, and therefore the UGC regulation has come up. AICT is going to adopt that. The 40% courses can be taken through online platform, whether it's a Swayam, Coursera, and edX. And of course, this management education is going to adopt this and has already been adopted this. With these points, I'd like to conclude over here. This particular the CEGR platform and the discussion is going to ultimately benefit it to the management education, to the institution, and to the AICT also. Dr. Kothari mentioned that CEGR should come out with some proposal. Welcome. you all are welcome. If you come to us, if you come to NBR, come to UGC, we welcome you. It's not like that you come and present your concern. No, it's not that. You come over here, you are welcome, and whatever points you are going to give it to us, we are not going to note on the paper only. We are going to implement, if at all it is going to benefit it to the students, to the education, and to the country at large. So we are adaptive, and even if you are coming physically, it's nothing like that. If you are sending a mail to us, single mail, I'll tell you, single mail is going to be replied to you, and it may be a surprising to everyone because it's a educational forum over here. There are a lot of the veteran over here in the this forum. So just wanted to mention that single mail is going, every single mail is going to be replied to you. So you can represent through mail, and you will be surprising that our honorable chairman, Professor Sahasbuddhe, you mentioned the name, so I'm also mentioning over here, our honorable chairman, Professor Sahasbuddhe, might be replying in the night, 2 o'clock to your mail, but every single mail will reply to you. So you are welcome. And we'd like to see you over here and physically also, and like to welcome your views. Thank you so much. Thank you all listening me very patiently, and more than the time allotted to me. So Ravi, just pardon me. I've taken a little more time, in fact. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot to Professor Kumar Sekhar Vijendra ji, and my gratitude again to Professor Agrawal. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Professor Soni. It was indeed a pleasure to listen to you after a long time on CEGR platform. And congratulations, now you are advisor. And what you were speaking from the heart of an advisor. Because all you talked about was very inclusive indeed, and very promising. This is what exactly is required if we wish to bring a change in our educational ecosystem. When the policymakers, when the people, those who are sitting in this position, they speak inspiring and with all possibilities of inclusivity and positivity. So thank you very much. And it was a pleasure to listen that AICT has become more a facilitator than a regulator. It was in the past.
Thank you so much, sir. In fact, we'd like to hear more, and whatever concern you're having. See, some of the concern may not be possible, or we will tell that whatever your concern is there, we may have some other concern with that, right? So that is a possibility, but we would like to hear more. If at all, if your concern is going to increase the quality of the management education or quality of the institution, and at large the quality of the student learning, we are going to implement that, and we will enable those provisions, in fact. So we are committed that, as you mentioned that, sir, nowadays we proudly say we are not regulator. Though we are regulator, we proudly say we are not regulator, we are facilitator. Yes, we are facilitator, and we will try our level best to facilitate, to increase the quality of professional education and technical education, both I'm talking about.
Thank you. It is very assuring indeed. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ravish.
Thank you, Professor R.K. Soni, sir, advisor AICT. And probably I'm telling you, the first time Professor Anil D. Sahasbuddhe addressed the CEGR event, and he told that our vision is to become the facilitator rather than the regulator. So in 2015, he addressed the first event, probably of the apart from AICT was the CEGR event, and he told that we will become the facilitator. And now I request Professor K.K. Agrawal, Chairman, National Board of Accreditation and mentor CEGR, to present his view. He is the youngest professor in India at the age of 27.5 years. He is the founding Vice Chancellor of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, and after that he was the Chancellor of Lingayas University and K.R. Mangalam University. And after that, he became the chairman of National Board of Accreditation. And we are fortunate and blessed to have his guidance as a mentor of CEGR since a number of years, since long time. He is the not only mentor, he is the chief editor of many of the publication of CEGR. So we have the sufficient time for you, sir. So we look forward to your views as you can speak, sir, because in technical session, we can manage the time. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ravish, for the nice words. I was feeling I have less time today because the session is late, but Ravish is smarter than the technical session. And so I'll make a few points. Dr. R.K. Soni, advisor AICTE, and a dear friend, and a person with a lot of commitment and devotion. And I know him of many contributions, but most stellar being empowering teachers, faculty development programs. I mean, to go to Guinness Book of Records for faculty development programs in such a large magnitude, in addition to all other work. Why I'm saying this is because for any education, it is the faculty which is the single most point which counts most. I'll not spend time on that today. We have already talked about teacher empowerment in another session. Then Kumar Shekhar Vijendra, Chancellor Shobhit University and National President CEGR, who is always available, full of commitment and guiding all the CEGR throughout the year. Professor Ravi Kumar Jain, Professor Manish Kothari, Dr. Arvind Agarwal, whom I'm meeting for the first time on this platform, Dr. Devish Jain, Senior Vice President CEGR and Chairman Prestige Group of Institutions. Great credit to him for making his institution as NAC A++ institution, which is not a very common thing. That speaks of his commitment. And then Professor Mishra, Director CEGR of this Conclave and Director Jaipuriya School of Business. I also see people here from the second session, Professor Sanjeev Marwaha, I saw, Professor Sanjay Chordia, Dr. Sandeep Pachpande, Professor Neha Sharma, Dr. Kanaklata. I think these are the professors I could recognize on the screen. And so nice of all of you to have come to CEGR, a platform to discuss today the management education in particular. Well, I would echo Dr. Soni in some sense that management education is a prototype of NEP, which was launched several decades ago. See, if you look at management education, after what reason the country had to give PGDMs as a separate entity in education? We had colleges, affiliated colleges and universities. After all, there must have been some great minds who thought management education need not be an affiliated institutions program. I mean, it cannot be a coincidence or an accident. It must be a great thought. Like all our ancient thoughts, we forgot the thought and went on with the customary ritual. That's a different matter. But very fact, PGDMM institutions were conceived to be out of the affiliation system was a great thought process and was a very reasonable, very well thought out process, because it was believed in the general gamut of the university, where the affiliated colleges will be engineering, medical, arts, science, education, law, etc., etc. Management education will not get that kind of characteristic attention which it is required to get. And I'll just remind you of some of those factors, and you will see how these are echoed in NEP now for all gamut of education. For example, see, if you have to do MA, you must be BA. If you have to run MSc, you must be BSc. If you have to do MBA, you need not be BBA. You can be BA, you can be BSc, you can be BTech, you can be BBA, you can be MBBS. Anything. Now, why can't you appreciate this great philosophy which we made believe that management education should have a great diversity of inputs, and that's a great platform we created. It's a different matter Please pardon me if I express some unhappiness about implementation of education. I still don't see most of the management institutions taking a science student and a commerce student and giving them interdisciplinary projects. We are not doing that to that extent, which was the intention of this management education. So we have not used diversity to the extent which we could have done and should have done. I say in lighter vein, but very realistically, this is the only education where word over, I have seen mother and daughter attending the same class. Father and son attending the same class. In no other education I have seen that. Because management education is perceived to be which can be received at any level of age group, at any level of previous education background. So that's the diversity with which we came to PGDMs. Many of the distinguished participants in the conclave did talk about the difficulties of PGDM institutions. Well, Dr. Soni and myself would agree with all your difficulties. But please appreciate why most of the PGDBM institutions are not getting 10% admissions. See, our problem is Ravish will connect only to those institutions which are good institutions, and rightly so. But if you look at the PGDBM education as a whole, we have also made a mess of it. Let's not deny this fact. And therefore, when so-called regulators or facilitators have to make rules, when we want to be demanding more and more autonomy, more and more freedom, one thing which you have to keep in mind is whom to give freedom, how many will use it, how many will misuse it, and where to draw the balance for this. Having said that, I think all of you who have heard me agree that, and many of my friends tell me also, sir, you are extra liberal for autonomy. You are extra sort of liberal for freedom, because I strongly believe it. If I have to commit one of the two errors, I will commit type 2 error, where give the freedom and see whether the damage can be done or can be contained, rather than not give the freedom and see how constraints can help. I mean, I'm very sure consciously we'll make this, even if you call it a mistake, and see what happens, because I am a student of software engineering, and we were taught if you have to make a mistake, please make it early so that you have time to correct it and still get the system online. So I still believe freedom will have to be given. Now NEP enables it, freedom for everything. Now coming about PGDBM education or management education per se, one was diversity of intake, diversity of age groups, diversity of modes of delivery. I think it's only in management education after the medical education where we came to case study method of education. And when we talk about case studies, we have to be innovative, we have to be creative. All of us agree that Harvard has been a pioneer of case studies. And one of the first case studies which Harvard did was a professor of management walks into the classroom with an empty bottle of water, which we buy today, Bisleri or something. He comes with an empty bottle of water, keeps it on the table, says, my dear students, in future, all of us will buy these bottles and there will be so much problem of plastic. Let us discuss today what to do with these empty bottles of water. That was one of the first case studies which the Harvard professor used while introducing the case study method in management. Now, these are the kinds of thought-provoking subjects which have to come in. I think somebody rightly stated, I think Professor Jain, Dr. Devesh Jain maybe, that we can solve problems which can be solved technologically. But look at the simple problems which have more complex solutions. Another point which I would like to say is, many a times in life, a problem which looks very complex has a very simple solution, and a problem which looks very simple has a very complex solution. I always say it's a drinking water problem. I mean, when 75% of the earth is water, how come all of us have to buy drinking water? Is it not shameful, to say the least? Can't our science and technology and management put together and give potable drinking water to everybody? I mean, I always say, and I feel pity on the children when I see them going to the school bus in the morning. In addition to 7 kilos of books, they take 2 kilos of water along with, because parents cannot trust the water which is supplied in the school. Is it too much for the asking? I read, and I hope it is true, that they have made Bhubaneswar as the first city in India where you can drink water from every tap in the town. I think we have to replicate this, and that is the challenge for management education. Why can't we use our students to address these problems, which look to be simple problems, but they are very interdisciplinary, very multidisciplinary. Again, the word multidisciplinary at times has been misused or confused. We believe, somebody said that economics and commerce and psychology and all that. But we believe, let's teach 2 papers of economics, 3 papers of economics, commerce, 2 papers of psychology, 1 paper of IT, and it will become management education. Now, I think nothing could be farther than the truth. And therefore, even as a vice chancellor, I failed to convince my management professors to please reduce the number of subjects. When in a semester, engineering professors will teach 5 subjects, medical will teach probably 3 subjects, physics will teach 3 subjects, management will teach 8 or 9 subjects, because they believe algebraic sum of subjects is the management. Now, I'll take a very simple thing from chemistry. There's a difference between mixture and compound. There's a difference between mixing the 2 things and synthesizing the 2 things. Biochemistry is not half the book of biology and half the book of chemistry. Physical chemistry is not half the book of physics and half the book of chemistry. These are separate subjects. Similarly, management had to be a subject, not part of economics, part of commerce, part of this. It was for us curriculum designers and education providers to do the necessary synthesis. Otherwise, it is something like that. Somebody wants water, you give him a cylinder of hydrogen, give him a cylinder of oxygen, and say, okay, hydrogen and oxygen make water, now you quench your thirst. The fellow will die thirsty. I think that's what we did to management education. We believed algebraic sum of knowledge is management. We did not do the synthesis. Somebody rightly emphasized that we focused on business. We did not focus on society. Well, nothing wrong in focusing on business, but focusing only on business, that spoiled our management education. I'll just reminded of a short story. During British regime, there was a good officer who was posted in Delhi, and British resigned. And when citizens complained, sir, there are so many cobras in Delhi, what to do? He said, okay, let's kill cobras. Then he found that it's very difficult for the government departments to kill all the cobras in the streets of Delhi. So he designed a very nice scheme. He said, okay, let citizens be empowered to kill cobras, and we will incentivize them. Anybody who kills a cobra, will give him 200 rupees or 100 rupees as an incentive. Looks to be a very fair deal. People also have a common sense which leads to business. And people felt, oh, okay, then people started cheating. Then they will say, I've killed the cobra. Now, how to verify that? Then the officer came up with a proposal, okay, bring the skin of cobra to claim 200 rupees. So it was done. Now people were still smarter. Now they started rearing cobras in home intentionally. Firstly, rear them, then bring them up, then kill them, then take the skin and claim 200 rupees. Now this is a business focus. With the result, we had a lot of money distributed and still more cobras on the roads of Delhi, because when you rear up, some will run away from your control anyway. So when you focus on business alone, that creates a problem. And when you focus on business and society and technology today, that will be there to solve the problem. Many speakers have mentioned artificial intelligence. Yes, artificial intelligence will be used in all domains, and all management students should be good in this. I was reading a paper yesterday which says, after all, common sense is still highest degree of intelligence. And there's a group of researchers who are trying to collect problems which can be solved only by common sense, not by deep learning, not by machine learning, not by artificial intelligence. And one very simple example he gives is, he says you're driving a car, somebody is standing on the roadside. How do you intuitively believe that he will not run towards the car? I mean, which algorithm you apply? You just have your common sense. He is not a mad. He will not run towards the car, and that is common sense. So common sense is still the highest degree of intelligence which we have to believe in, and I believe all of us should have enough common sense, which is, of course, they say not very common, and still solve the problems. I was reading WhatsApp this morning, because as you have seen, when I speak in a flow, and whatever I say, I don't even remember sometimes. I had an interview given to a journalist, which it took 90 minutes of my Zoom time. And when a friend of mine read it, he is a director of NIT for 10 years. He writes to me, I also didn't know that I said that. He says, went through the whole of the interview, very thought-provoking. I like your quote most. Now, I didn't intentionally quote. You be the master of your career. This is what I'm addressing the students. You be the master of your career, be the designer of your life. We will facilitate. Now, I think that has to be the education, management education, all the more so that NEP says, let the students decide what they wish to do. Let them work out the curriculum. Let them work out the electives. We will only facilitate. I believe that philosophy. After his WhatsApp, I read through my interview. Yes, I had said that, but I really mean that to happen. So finally, friends, management education will have to really translate 4 C's into reality, which have been specifically mentioned in NEP: collaboration, communication skills, creativity, and complex problems. Again, I repeat, complex problems only mean which require knowledge of more than one discipline, which require knowledge of more than one subject. In accreditation, we have a special requirement of the capability of solution of complex problems in the world over, because that is where we believe the real crux of education lies. And on this management conclave, I request all my senior academicians from management education that let's revamp management education. My empirical rules are not more than 50% time in the classroom. Let's see how we can work it out. But we do work it out, whatever way we can work it out. Number 2, not more than 50% written examinations. There is no need to have written examination in every subject of management, particularly. Maybe talking to the students by 3 teachers for 1 hour will be a much better method of assessment in management, particularly. Somebody rightly mentioned the diversity of teachers. I agree. I do not think it's very necessary to have all the PhDs in management faculty all the time. Some great management practitioners will be a great asset. After I have seen in universities abroad, when you design a course on ornamental horticulture, now who will teach it? Practicing horticulturist. अब हमारे देश में कहेंगे माली पढ़ा रहा है. माली पढ़ा रहा है, यदि हॉर्टिकल्चर पढ़ाना है तो माली को पढ़ाने में क्या दिक्कत है? So the point is, somewhere if we can do without PhDs in medical education to a good extent, why can't we do without, I won't say without PhDs, but with the limited number of PhDs in management education, a good judicial mix of practitioner managers and academic managers, then only will serve the purpose. I hope with these few ideas, I have already delayed you quite a bit. So we thank you, Ravish, for organizing second management conclave. First was a great success. I'm sure second will be a greater success. And thank you all for participation. And hopefully we'll take the teachings forward, learnings forward, and see we can make change in the management education, which I assure you, believe you me, you can do it, you are capable of doing it, and PGDBM institutions do not require anybody's permission to do it. And therefore, please do that. AICT doesn't say what to teach. AICT only describes some very basic norms. And therefore, let us start implementation of NEP in the right earnest from management education, which is easiest to do and most desirable to do. And I can assure you on behalf of Dr. Soni and also on behalf of Chairman AICT, President Sasrabuddhe, nobody will stop you from making changes which you think in the interest of society. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you very much, sir. It was indeed an honor to listen to your management education, because a lot of things what you said, generally we think, but we do not do. And I was supposed to summarize what you said, but I am not going to do that. Let everybody has their own take out of your speech, because you touched everything in practically everything. And the most important thing, which we all have to understand and appreciate, that we are teaching which has to be stopped. We have to give an environment to the students to learn in their own pace. We have to allow our students to learn, and let us be a co-partner in that. Let us be co-learner with them, whatever they want to learn. And that is exactly what management is all about. Thank you very much, sir, for your patience, for being with us from last more than 2 hours. I know you are very busy. Dr. Soni also wants to leave his leaving messages over here. So we are concluding now. And thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure to listen to you as always. Thank you. Over to you, Ravish.
And thank you, Kumar Shekhar Vijayan, sir. Always when I listen to KK Agarwal, sir, I get a lot of takeaways from his speech. Thank you, sir, for always supporting CEGR. Now I request Professor Jitendra Kumar Mishra, Director Jaipuria School of Business and man behind this second management conclave as the conclave director. So I request Professor Jitendra Kumar Mishra to present the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Over to you, Jitendra Mishra, sir.
Thank you, Ravish ji. Respected Agarwal sir, Shri Kumar Shekhar Vijayan ji, Professor R.K. Soni ji, our co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen, the people in audience. It has indeed been a great pleasure this afternoon to go through such a enlightening discussion, which started with the tone setting by Kumar Shri Shekhar Vijayan Singh ji, where he talked of inclusivity and taking care of environment and everything around, so that education become an agent to change. And we had multiple dimensions. One thing I would like to bring here, that management condition that we all are witnessing. It has two dimensions. One is the inherent dimension where management education has evolved to a level, and now it is trying to go to the next tangent. And there we see that the charm of management education, which was very conventional 2-year full-time employability providing mechanism in West, has started getting lost. It has losing its charm. And there have been studies by the current dean of Harvard, and he has brought in the book almost 10 years back in 2008, which was published later, that the enrollment across the institutions in US and some part of Europe has been consistently declining in the 2-year program. And he has come up with very interesting finding that what are the reasons. At the other end, we see that in India, we are at a time when we need more talent in management field, because we have set a target to become 5 trillion economy. We are initiating large number of projects. We have seen that since 2000, since 1991, when we liberalized and public sector, this private sector started participating and services started growing. That has given a real boost to requirement of management talent, and managerial talent along with the technology talent in software has grown multifold. That bigger phase is in waiting. Once we move towards the project of large scale, which are going to drive the aspiration of 5 trillion economy in the country, would require much more number and better quality of management talent to handle all these projects. The question here is, at this point of time, when we look at the regulatory part, we see that the standalone institutions, which has been an Indian innovation, you will not find any such kind of design of the program like PGDM anywhere in the world. It was purely Indian innovation, which has become a synonym of management education in the country. You say management, you will either remember IIM, Accelerate, SPGen, and you name it. This all has been the real driver of management education in the country, and management is the field where you've got largest number of enrollment in postgraduate program in one single discipline. But then somewhere new education policy has not been able to take care of the major concerns. It has tried to make entire education, right from preschool to post PhD, very different, which is remarkable, commendable, which was need of the hour. But when we look at per se in that very block of the management domain, which has its own importance and contribution, and that needs to be considered while we are moving towards implementation of the NEP, that we don't lose this very impactful innovation of India in the field of management education. We don't only preserve it, but somehow, if possible, we build on it further, which is in the very much interest of the country. So when it comes to size, when it comes to focus, when we are talking of multidisciplinary, you see all the management institutions have been primarily focusing on 2-year postgraduate program. They did not have large number of diverse undergrad and other programs. So it was very well crafted. All these specialized institutions, maybe National Institute of Law or Agricultural University or IITs for per se, were designed with a specific purpose, and they have served the purpose very well. We need to revisit, have we got them outdated or have we deviated from that purpose? If not, we need to still preserve it. It is time to not allow them to further away and then regret and try to redo it, because that may also be possible. Once we lose, we may start going back and building on. It's the right time when we look into it, assess it, and find a right way where when we are building everything with autonomy, flexibility, and inclusivity, we take care of the interest of management education and we build on it, because it is one area which has created large number of employability, large number of jobs, and it has driven the entire growth of economy in the country. So that was one side I wanted to focus upon and mention, or if you say add to. There were many dimensions, but I think in the interest of time, it would not be great to elaborate that. Another thing, if you see the change in the internal part of management education, Agarwal sir was very well describing that it is not the addition or sum total of multiple courses. We see that the entire requirement of a skill in the age of Industry 4.2 is changing. The curriculum and entire pedagogy and engagement of a student need to be relooked from that point of view, so that management education remain pertinent and relevant. if we look at the opportunity cost and the fast changing ecosystem of industry and practice, 2-year full-time management education, which is conventional, may not be very feasible. The opportunity cost of this education may be much more than what value does it create. And we have already started seeing that 1-year executive program has started gaining possibility. We need to see that what innovation can be there in the design of programs, or what newer programs can be designed to cater to the change needs. The NEP has to be further relooked into to take care that the PGDM program, for that matter, can be given a space, and the scaling up in terms of number of students and adding multidisciplinary programs could be more focused. Even if it has to go for multiple programs or multiple disciplines, it can be more closer disciplines, like if it is management, the economics or psychology or statistics or technology could be the closer disciplines where the divergence can be done. It should not be demanded that it should go full spectrum and try to exactly evolve the way conventional universities are evolving. Because as Agarwal sir very well described, that PGDM was being designed in a way because it was felt that what university is doing, that the management program will not be able to serve the need of the hour. That is why it was being deviated and designed with a conscious decision. Now we should not try to undo that. When we are saying that no, management education or management institution has to be exactly a replica of a full scale university. So that is one thing that we need to look into it. These were my additional thoughts. Now I would quickly conclude
we have to conclude sir, we have to conclude the inaugural session. We can have your views during the technical session.
Yes, yes. So my grateful thanks to Professor Agarwal sir, who always try to make us feel like very humble students and add value in every session. If none of his sessions goes empty, and we always feel enriched and elated. I'm sure that everyone has got same feeling. I would request you all to give a round of applause for his time and all the knowledge that he shared. Our thanks to poor Vijay Singh ji for making everything possible for all of us and leading the CEGR to take the entire education system together to a next level. I think he is doing as a comprehensive and complex job as the government is trying to do in terms of NEP. He has brought in everything together, right from liberal arts to engineering to management, and variably he is driving the interest of the entire education sector. So thanks to you, sir. Our thanks are due to Professor Ravi Jain, Mr. Manish Kothari, Mr. Arvind Agarwal ji, Sri Devi Jain ji, Professor R.K. Soni ji, and all the other panelists and audience who has made this session really worthy of this time. So I'm sure that we all are going much enriched, much aware, and we are going with a spark to make something implemented out that we are taking away from this session. And finally, this session would not be concluded without saying thank you to Ravi ji, who has been at the forefront and putting everything together to make great things happen. So thank you, Ravi ji. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Jiten ji.
Thanks Professor K.K. Agarwal sir, and thanks to all the speakers who have accepted our invitation. And with the permission of Professor K.K. Agarwal sir and all, we are starting the technical session.
Sure. Thank you, Ravish. Thank you.
So, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay. All the
Thank
best.
you, sir. And now I request Professor Sanjeev Marwa, Director, JK Business School, to moderate the technical session. Now I request Professor Dr. Sanjeev Marwa, Director, JK Business School, to moderate the technical session on the theme Way Forward for the Management Education. Over to you, Professor Dr. Sanjeev Marwa, for your views, and then I request you to moderate the technical session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ravish. I hope my screen is shared well.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you, Ravish. You are an amazing person who can get 90-minute professors to come and talk for 9 minutes. And this is what I've been experiencing for last many years now. This happens to be a technical session, but let me tell you that we will not keep any technical in this particular session. It's about management education, the way forward. All of us have been struggling with pandemic for last 1.5 years. I'm glad that today we are talking beyond survival and we're talking about way forward and what else but for the post and for the job that we are paid for, and we're talking about moving ahead in management education. The biggest danger in this life are people who want to change everything or nothing. So let's talk about changing, making small changes, making bit of changes in what we are and what we want to do for management education. Many friends have spoken in the first session about the new education policy. I am sure most of us are aware that KK Agarwal ji is the chairperson of NBA, and they have been implementing outcome-based education in our systems in business schools and engineering colleges for some time now. And most of the institutes which are getting into business, into accreditation now today are going through the route of OBE, outcome-based education, which also forms the genesis of what the new education policy is all about. Let's start with why are we here? In fact, as institutes, students come to us. Typically, they spend 3 to 4 self-discovery years with us. They learn the theoretical base for the skills, and which they think that it will get them a job in the industry and which will serve them for the rest part of their life. This is the expectation with which they come to us. Colleges, as colleges, we also have to assimilate the theoretical practices, create knowledge and disseminate while preparing students for entrepreneurial, corporate, and policymaking roles. That's the role that is manifested onto us. Now, these practical skills could be built and modified as per the need, and therefore we say that these are adaptable skills. It was thought that these acquired skills will help students find jobs much faster. It was also thought that these jobs would be productive for the industry, and that is the reason students decided, and they have been paying fees to the college to acquire those so-called adaptable skills. And the fees over the years, as somebody did mention earlier in the earlier session, that the fees kept increasing over time, and courses, at least the courses which were better suited for the practical applications such as management, law, engineering, and other courses. Now, when the change has become a little too fast, and the environment, the business environment and the industrial environment has become much more adaptive, had much more dynamic and fast-paced, the industry also expects that the academia will take input from the industry and adapt its skill much faster, because the half-life of skills is falling very rapidly. Therefore, today, when we talk about bring about the change, the first change that we need to think about, deliberate upon, is the revisiting of syllabi and innovation, tailoring of the learning resources that we have, so that our college outputs, which mentioned earlier in the previous session was placements, should become much more relevant for the society. Because when the output or the placement is not relevant, the very fact of the existence, the very fact of the fees, the very fact of the presence of education and the contribution to the society gets questioned. And that is where we are talking today, that what kind of positive change we bring about in the education system, which can ensure that the purpose for which these students have arrived in the campus is achieved. And the change, which is very rapid, as Professor Jitendra also mentioned, that the change has not only become rapid, but then the technology adoption has become so rapid and fast that today it is very difficult to catch up with the industry practices. Today, almost 85% of the industry are expected to be using big data analytics by 2022. App and web-based enabled markets, about 75%. Internet of Things are supposed to be adopted by technology by companies by 2022, almost 75% of the companies. Machine learning, encryption, new materials, stationary robots, 3D printing. Look at the way the adoption of technology is taking place in the industry. And therefore, the half-life of skill is going to be changing much, much faster than ever in the past. If it falls rapidly, one has to be prepared that with that change or the delta of change, the curriculum also needs to be modified that very often. Perhaps those days of changing and reviewing the curriculum every couple of years are gone. Perhaps now we need to have our academic advisory bodies meeting maybe more than once in a year and reviewing what are we, where are we, what is the purpose that we are here for, and what are we teaching, and what are the learning outcomes of the student. Of course, automation has changed, and this is the survey which 2 years back mentioned that accommodation and food services will have very high adoption of automation, and we are not far away from the reality where we talk about Swiggy's and Zomato and the way the food business or food delivery business has undergone a change. Manufacturing, transportation, agriculture, retail, mining, all of them are ensuring that the automation is part of their moving forward plan. And when the industry gets automated, there is a job obsolescence. The existing skill sets perhaps might not be good enough. A new skill set needs to be taken care of. And so much so, I mean, some of you might agree that education services probably will have 27% of automation. And today we are talking about much more changes which are coming up. And today only Mr. Soni mentioned that perhaps 40% of the courses could be online, and that freedom is being provided to the institutes and in the NEP. And then one can look at how the automation will take place even in the education services. And the success stories of few of the young educational ed tech companies, of course, is well known to all of us. They become perhaps the biggest hirees today in the campuses in this year itself. Then, of course, the technology adoption and then the technology acceptance. And we know how AI, RPA, virtual reality, big data analytics, 3D printing, IoT is bringing the different kind of jobs to the fore. We are talking about UI designer, UX designer. We're talking about AI research analyst. We're talking about business analyst. We are talking about solution architect. We are talking about designer, computer vision engineer. We're talking about data scientist, data analyst. We're talking about solution architect. These are the kind of roles that are emerging. But these are not the roles that we are looking at preparing our students for. Most of them are appending some courses from online resources, and then they are preparing themselves because the cutting edge of placement ensures that they have to be prepared for what the real world is asking for. But as an institution, it's a wake-up call for us. As management educators, we must ensure if these are the kind of jobs that are emerging, are we preparing our students for the purpose that they are here with us? I'll go back to the very basic of OBE, outcome-based education, where we know that our NEP is talking about moving up the Bloom taxonomy ladder and pedestal, and moving from, remember, like defining, duplicating, memorizing, statement of fact, to understanding, classifying, discussing, explaining, identifying, recognizing, to apply, talking about problem solving, demonstration, interpret, operate, schedule, to analyze, differentiate, compare, contrast, distinguish, examine, experiment, to evaluate, where we talk about appraising, arguing, defending, selecting, weighing up the options, critically viewing it, or to the highest ladder, which we call about, which we generally colloquially refer to as the creative or the create part of the Bloom taxonomy. Talk about formulation of plans, designing, assembling, constructing, investigating, authoring, developing, business plan, a business model. And this is where we have to ensure that the learning outcomes move from mere remembering to creating. And I know all of them might not be possible in all the course outcomes that we plan, but our course outcome should be targeted now to ensure that we move from understanding, applying, analyzing to evaluating and creating. This would ensure higher learning outcomes for our students and make their skill sets much more competitive for the industry that we intend to prepare them for. Well, who will bring about the change? Faculty, of course. But when you look at the mindset of the faculty, it's burdened with workload, training, implementation, gradual implementation, understanding level of students, productive assignment, grading evaluation, discussions, development level of each student's complex development, time tests. This is what the mindset of a faculty member is all about. And in contrast, the mindset of our industry is very, very different. It talks about critical thinking, employability, competency-based, analytical skills, leadership, communication skills, holistic approach, research orientation, successful clarity of problem solving, and involvement in decision making. This is what the industry thinks. This is what the industry wants. This is the kind of skill sets they want students to arrive at their workplace. And our system is very different, but the change can be brought about only by faculty and none else. So how do you bring about the change? Of course, the entire curriculum and assessment practices needs reform, and reform only in incremental, because as I mentioned earlier, you can't change everything tomorrow morning, but we can make incremental steps. We can take incremental steps to ensure that we move in the right direction. The focus has to move from content-based to assessing the student's performance. Learning is should be articulated in more in terms of observable outcomes. What is experienced by the student, what is understood by the student, what is his outcome, and what has he understood is more important. We have to move from teaching to ensure measured learning. Clarity in the students on expectation of what they will be able to do after engaging in this learning experience. So what they know is not important. What they understand, what they have comprehended, and what outcome they can generate is something that we need to map our learning systems to be. The focus has to move in terms of increasing the students' engagement and make it student-centric learning rather than the teaching-oriented or the context-oriented learning. Of course, we need to have better data management systems, assessment systems. The improvement of faculty instructional practice lesson has to improve. Gap analysis needs to be carried out. A collaborative environment needs to be there in the institutions to ensure that there's a better curriculum input, there's introduction of industry-supported inputs, there is a better responsiveness, commitment, and engagement of all stakeholders, including students and promoters. When we look at this outcome-based education, we of course know that all outcome-based approaches or outcome-based education definitely leads to higher accreditation. We talk about NBA, we talk about AASCB, we can talk about any kind of accreditation, but the basic premise would be measuring the student outcome. And I think that's a global practice. That's a practice which now our new education policy is talking about. So the way forward is only to ensure that we start taking baby steps towards developing outcome-based education. Well, as head of the institutions and as administrators, it's not easy to bring about change. The change can be brought step by step. And when we talk about bring about the change, I'll be very candid. We can start with authoritative approach, but we have to move towards guiding coalition very soon. Faculty members, they have to be on board as a mission that they are going to be involving themselves in the course outcome. The democratization process has to be developed for developing the vision, mission, establishment of PEOs and PSOs of the institution. All the success stories, whether it is about course outcomes or PSC or PO development, needs to be shared with all stakeholders. The change of course outcomes after feedback should be instilled as part of annual academic review. This is how you will be able to take the entire team forward. There would be challenges, and the challenges are coming out of inherent system that we have. There would be a challenge in terms of student motivation to accept the outcome-based education or the new policy. There could be reliance on instructors because they are the presenter of knowledge. And that's how education system has evolved in our country in the last many decades. But that needs to be changed incrementally. There would be a challenge in terms of designing the outcomes. Mapping the outcome would be a bigger challenge as to how do you map the outcome that you have designed for the course. And there could be disbelief in the system initially, but there could be reluctance, there could be a time constraint. Of course, most of the faculty members in many colleges have time constraint and teaching loads which are heavy on their timetables, and they might not be able to find time to rework on the changes that the NEB requires or the outcome-based education requires. But there is no way that you can escape it. Of course, you have to ensure that the training of the faculty and the assessment systems are regular in nature. Well, if you are committed to bring about the change incrementally, there has to be a way forward. And the way forward is very simple. As Professor Agarwal mentioned today, it's sheer common sense, a positive approach, a proper strategy, clarity of vision, assertiveness, receptiveness to feedback, a collaborative approach, open discussions, deliberations, debate, and above all, open communication is the only way one can manage the implementation of outcome-based education. It is the only way adoption of the new education policy can get implemented in management education. And I am sure all of us will take these baby steps, exchange notes with each other, and we will be able to bring about the positive change. Thank you very much. May I now invite Dr. Puneet Dwivedi to bring forth his viewpoints on management education, the way forward. Dr. Puneet Dwivedi, please.
Very good afternoon. Please allow me to share the screen, please.
Sure, please.
I think it is not.
I think
okay.
The solution is there already.
You can just press the share screen button.
Share
After that, the picture that comes on the top left, you just click it and it'll start sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, your screen is being shared. Now you can open your presentation.
Yeah.
You can just open your presentation. We can see your screen. You can open your presentation.
Yeah, it is opening. It is about to open.
All right.
I think it is open.
No, in fact, it is not the presentation, but the second screen of Zoom, which is opening up. You can just probably go to your, the PPT, wherever it is on your system.
Yeah, it is on the desktop itself. I have opened here.
Yeah, you can just open and then let the open it on the, make it full screen.
Before pressing the share screen, you should open and minimize it at the bottom.
That I have done only. Yeah. Is it seen?
No.
Sir, please share it again. Stop the share and share screen. Click on share screen again. Just click on the stop share. Yeah, the red button which is showing here.
The red button, stop share, just click that button.
Yeah.
That should be
Now,
good.
stop share. Now share it again.
You can again press the share screen button, the green button.
Yeah. Share
And
screen.
select the PPT option. Click on the share screen.
Opening view. Is it open? Is it seen?
No. Just press the
Okay.
share screen button, it will open up.
Yeah, I have already shared from here.
You have to wait for a while. It will then, give you a couple of options. The top left, you have to click again. First, you have to press the share screen.
Now minimize the Google Chrome. Minimize the Google Chrome. Yeah. Minimize it. Now it is.
Now it is seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Extremely sorry for the inconvenience. Very good afternoon to all the dignitaries here in the second management conclave of CEGR. Since morning, we are listening to many top educationists of the nation, and they have discussed about the future prospects of management education and how we can move ahead. We all are the academicians from different parts of the country, from different management institutions, technical education institutions. And in this pandemic, we have seen many challenges. We have faced many challenges. And the new way forward is now that we have to plan, that we have seen in many presentations and many talks in today's since 1 o'clock onwards, 1:30 onwards. But what is the mantra? We should focus now because everything is almost covered. We should focus more on specializations like business analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, financial engineering, multimedia, e-commerce, digital marketing, pharmaceutical management type of subjects. And even the mentorship program, like we have seen earlier and currently also, institutions, management institutions, PGDM institutions are following the. Are you able to hear me? I'm audible. Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Absolutely
You are
fine.
audible.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. So institutions are they are following different methods of teaching, like case study method. But now we are seeing the gap, and case study method is now it's not so relevant. We are finding, and even some of the US institutions they are now neglecting this case study method of teaching pedagogy. So again, the question is, what type of mentoring program we can offer to our students? Like earlier, we used to have in our ancient time the mentorship program in the Gurukula. So that method we can follow in our management institution, whether it is possible or not, because now we have moved so fast and to the level where we are actually whether we are able to move back or not. That is the biggest question. Curriculum design is another very important part that we have seen in NEP 2020, and what thing is missing, that is the industry institute interface. People are showing in their reports and in their institutions, and while in their records industry institute interface is there, but somewhere it is lacking, and we are not focusing more on this industry institute interface. In our institutions, we have this is the first time in Madhya Pradesh we have launched this MBA in pharmaceutical management program, and in consultation with industry leaders, pharma industry leaders. So we have requested them to design the course on behalf of like the Indian Pharmacy Association and industry associations of pharmaceuticals. They have designed the course. They have given the inputs for the course. We have also shared this program for some top-notch institutions like IITs and IIMs of Indore professors, and they have given their inputs. And then, with the help of Industry Institute Interface, we have designed this program called MBA in Pharmaceutical Management Program. Till now, there are only 14 places in the country offering this program, including NIPERS. This is the first time in MP we have introduced this program. And what is the beauty that we are not NAC accredited institution. We are not having any NBA accreditation. We have applied, but due to pandemic, we are not able to make it. And since last 2 years, this is the bottleneck, and we have paid the fees and everything, but still the inspection is due. But meanwhile, though we are industry supported institutions, we have created great buzz in pharma as well as management in Madhya Pradesh. Like our chairman, initially he has spoken in this informal session that we have produced amphotericin B emulsion form and all these, and for the black fungus, and we have supported the government. It was the duty for the nation. What industry has seen, they have seen the managerial skill missing among pharma professionals, and industry has reverted back to us that we are having huge targets. We are able to produce more, but we are not getting the right people for supply chain management. We're not getting right people to make it available to the market, and likewise many problems they have identified, and they have requested the solution for these problems. Then we have come up with this program, and they only decided to launch this MBA in Pharmaceutical Management program. So this type of initiative is required in at local level, at even in different parts of the country. For Pune there is a different problem, for Mumbai there is other problem, for Hyderabad there is other type of problems, and the need of skilled manpower for the local industries. So that type of this thing is we have to develop in our education system, so that we can endorse and we can solve the problem of industry, and we can assume industry as a customer, not as the students as the customer. So this is the thing that we have to develop, that industry is the customer, what industry want, that we have to create, that we have to develop, and we have to provide to the industry, and then the successful industry institute interface can be done. Another very important mantra for this way forward is academic quality assurance system in our institutions, that we have to create, we have to develop, and actually we have to implement. There should be proper vigilance on these quality assurance system, 360-degree, for faculties, for students, for like we are making all these things on documented form, but there is no actual on ground implementation, and that thing again we can think for this NEP 2020 also. Pedagogical innovation is also a very important thing that we have seen. The moderator sir has very clearly has mentioned in his talk that we have to change, like here we have seen like mentorship program, how we can every teacher has their own talent, own knowledge base, and like chairman sir also has spoken that we need not to have more PhDs for this management program. We can have somebody who is the expert in that subject. He can be like Mali, can be also the teacher. He can also teach the horticulture to the people. So likewise, that pedagogical innovation is required. Like government has focusing more on this skill and all these. So for that also we have to innovations and startups also we have to focus more on these innovation in pedagogies. Building social responsible companies is another very important thing, because if we are guiding our students, if we are supporting them, if you are teaching them in such a way so that they can become responsible citizens of the country, they can run the companies responsibly. So we have to develop such people who can feel and who can who can admire the country's mission, and accordingly who can act. So this type of development is also required. And finally, that we have to work for create meaning, not money. So if we are able to create meaning in academic environment, if we are able to create meaning in our courses, if we are able to create meaning in our students, their lives, automatically money will come. But so major focus should be on meaning. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Puneet. Wonderful. In fact, I'm really impressed with two of your observations, but I think probably I'm not allowed to summarize here. So we will do it at the end of the session. So now I will invite Dr. Amol to share his viewpoints. Dr. Amol.
So the stop share, click on the stop share.
Yeah.
So Dr. Amol. If Dr. Amol is not able to present, can I invite?
Dr. Amol sir will be joining after some time. He has some technical issue.
Okay, so then we can move to Professor
Neha.
Neha. Professor
Yes,
Neha.
sure, sir.
Professor Neha Sharma, please. Ma'am, you're on mute.
Thank you, Professor Sanjeev Marwa, for inviting me. Thank you, CEGR and Mr. Ravish for this wonderful for this wonderful second conclave of management. In fact, to a director of a standalone PGDM management institution, it is so heartening to be on this platform and hear that some of the concerns about the NEP, which I as an individual have, are shared by others. And that gives me immense confidence that whatever are the guidelines provided in NEP would actually be taken in the right spirit when it comes to PGDM institution. Because a lot has been said, I will only focus on what is the way forward for PGDM institutions engaged in the management education space. The way forward can only be a positive approach, with a positive approach to salvage and protect these unique institutions by logically looking forward and a forward-looking approach. Why? Because I'm really convinced that PGDM program rendering the management education in India are best suited to keep pace with the dynamic, disruptive industry which has been unleashed on this world, including India, through the Industry 4.0 initiatives. The only institutions in management education space which can actually grapple with the reality of how to adapt the changes which the industry are demanding and make sure that our graduate students, they absorb those changes, are able to understand them, and then transfer that skill and knowledge in a very short period to the industry where they are employed. Because of the power of being autonomous and being on our own over a period of time, these institutions have developed such strong foundation and understanding of the process that these quick changes, they come naturally to us. Today, PGDM Institute are known because of their agility, the quickness with which changes can be brought about, the flexibility that we have in terms of keeping certain processes or reducing certain processes to the minimum in order to bring about the changes which are actually required. The cooperation and coordination that we enjoy from the industry because of the trust they have or that they have developed over a period of time, and the trust of our primary stakeholders, that is our students. They have seen year on year PGDM institutes delivering on the promises. And so when disruptive changes are brought in processes, they don't get hassled. A chaos is not created in the system, and the things flow smoothly. The last one is because of the continuous involvement and a sharp focus on a niche area. We all know that we are all 500 students strength, small institution, and the entire focus is on a single course, a single discipline. We are not bothered or we are not distracted by what is happening elsewhere. That keeps our focus sharp and is able to help us in delivering the kind of results which are required by the industry. Therefore, whenever in need of new talent or for talent with new skills, industry is known to turn towards the PGDM institutions. If I look at the NEP, the essence of NEP and the tenets which describe a PGDM institution, there is a lot of synergy there. We already have silos-free interdisciplinary approach because management is known to have emerged from multidisciplinary approach. A lot of subjects come together. People from diverse heterogeneous backgrounds of study, social status, etc., come here to study, which further strengthens the interdisciplinary approach. I agree with Dr. K.K. Agarwal that there is a lot which can still be done, but it will only be possible if PGDM institutes are left the way they have been allowed to function till now under even AICT or any other policy which had come into play. New education policy and the policy previous to that, preceding that, talked about implementation of choice-based credit system. I think choice-based credit system as an academic tenet has not got justice in any other course as it has got in PGDM. Today in single institution, we offer more than 75 electives across the specializations to our students. Because of the way in which the entire management program is developed for a short period of 2 years, the students have a lot of freedom to choose for floating credits, extra credits, attend classes, even if they have, it is not a part of their own specialization. Management education, because of the internship program and the projects that we offer, gives an opportunity for the students to go for summer schools, winter schools, the capstone project to summarize the entire knowledge. So choice, I think CSBS gets most justice in a PGDM institution. I say that because somewhere it is felt that some institutions, they exploit the autonomy, but it could be a perception of people who are bound in strong framework. Once they come up close and see, so we have institutions like AICT and autonomous bodies like NBA to actually come, inspect, question us, take proof of whatever we have been doing. And the institutions which have been doing a good task should be allowed to continue like that. I would also like to add that perhaps PGDM institutions were the least affected in terms of the graduating timelines, even during the pandemic. Whereas, because most of the majority of the PGDM institution, we get our intake from the national level CAT, CMAT, or GMAT. And therefore, we have been lucky that we can start our programs. We have been able to start our programs in the given framework, whereas state universities, because of their dependence on the state entrance test and the CAP processes, have unusual delays, and it has impacted the morale of the students, their placement process, and a lot of things thereon. So this is definitely a big plus points for the PGDM institutes and for the way forward to look for when retaining their autonomy. The other thing that I would like to bring in is that a large number of PGDM institutes in India are backed by corporates. My own institution is backed by the industry, India's major manufacturer, actually #1 manufacturer of denim fabric in the world, that is Chiripal Group. Such a close relationship with industry actually gives us, the teachers, the faculty members, and the students, a fireside view of what is going on in the industry. And therefore, everything that we say, the transfer of knowledge or the industry institute interface, it comes naturally to such industry-backed, industry-floated PGDM institutions. I rest my argument here, or I rest my case here in saying that as a group, PGDM institutions are doing a service to the industry in being able to give them the kind of manpower that they are looking for. Please do not measure it as with the same scale with which you are measuring the graduate education or the undergraduate education, because maybe their scale is the way it should go forward to make it more economical. But for us, small size is our strength. You force us to be a 3,000 strength institution, and that personal mentorship and the way we actually carve each student's skills, attitudes, behavior, that will be lost. We would be lost as another one in the milli, and industry would suffer because they would not get the manpower that they have been getting from these institutions, the fruit of the toil of these institutions till now. Please keep on providing us the autonomy to invite industry experts to interact with our students rather than forcing any degree. Give equivalence to the industry experience so that they can be called professors too. Thank you very much. Thanks a
lot. Dr. Amol has arrived. Dr. Amol would like to continue with the session, or like 2-3 minutes to?
I'm really sorry. I was busy in something.
Yeah. So maybe I can invite Dr. Kanaklata, and maybe you can then join a little later. I mean, you can start the next session. So Dr. Kanaklata, if you can now, as Dr. Professor Ne has mentioned, would like to argue your case onto the PGDM program. Of course, you have You do not have a PGM program as of now, but
I
you definitely
I would
have
like
a
to take my
healthcare
words
specialization,
little
yeah.
bit. Yeah. Can I get the screen sharing?
Yes, please. You can just press this green button, share screen. It's shared now, ma'am. You can go ahead with the presentation.
Yeah. Firstly, a very good afternoon again to all our academic leaders of our country, Dr. Professor R.K. Agrawal sir, Professor Kanwar Sekhar Vijendra sir, Professor R.K. Soni sir, and all our eminent speakers, the invitees, students, my colleague, and especially to Ravish Ranjan sir, Ravish ji, the coordinator of this conclave management, conclave 2 from CEGR. This, I think I should pay gratitude also along with the greetings that it's really a wonderful platform where the all academicians are having freedom to speak and to share their opinions and their thoughts based on their experiences of running the different colleges and programs. So it's really a very wonderful platform. Now, to begin my opinion, I would like to share what I feel the way forward for management education in India could be aligned with this success definition of success, which I describe in a different little way, that the success is not only ability to achieve good financials, good reputation, and good facilities, physical facilities. Rather, it is a quality of critical thinking, having the decisions power, taking bold decisions to reach their desired goals, to achieve the desired goals of happiness of the life. I would here add, like the initiative taken by the AICTE for the holistic development of students by imparting a human behavior course, universal human values. If realistically, if logically, and if judiciously we are imparting in management education this course, I think then the preaching would be not required, rather than self-exploration would be enhanced for the students in the classrooms. Also, we would be able to create more successful manager rather than a more successful human being rather than only successful manager. I think at this moment of the time when the behavioral change is happening because the pandemic, post-pandemic crisis and the mental agony of the students and all human beings, I think we should create a platform for at least few months from now in which we can incorporate the quality academics of given by the course curriculum given by the AICTE for universal human values. Also here I would like to add the concerns area of our Professor Kanwar Sekhar sir, that we should create we instead of me. So my listening him, I thought to add my this opinion to this platform, this forum, that we should enhance the value of education among our management students, whether it is irrespective it is MBA or PGDM. Irrespective of that, we know that their future is to become manager, to they are dreaming a successful life. But we should not forget that the successful human being is to be created in the classroom only. So self-exploration is to be enhanced by the teachers in the classroom would be my first opinion in favor to way forward for management education in India. Now, though I have made my presentation outline, but because time would be not allowing me, so I will escape this. Now, I would like to share how the behavioral change has happened because of the unprecedented pandemic, which has, though the GDP were expected 5.8 in the year, though we fall down by 2.9%. So this has affected everything. So in this impact, we know that the management education is not aloof from it. This has also been impacted negatively. But And this I would take your attention towards the generation, towards the beginning of management education in the India. It's very interesting. I would like to draw your attention towards how one single college has begun and came up to the position of mushrooming. And in each states, I don't know how many colleges of management education are there. And exactly this situation is creating absolutely confusing that the somebody is having a plus category NAC and NBA accredited colleges. They are having the cream layer of managers they are generating, whereas in some other institutions they are not even able to appoint a qualified teachers. So somehow, if we are taking mean of it, being academician, we can understand how much danger it is. So I would just like to create some draw your attention. Just in 1949, around 1950, as Kamal sir also said, the first college XLRI has been appointed, has been made, founded by Father Quinn Enright at Jamshedpur. Soon, the full-time management programs in Indian Institute of Social Welfare and Business Management arise in 1953. Then in 61 onward, the IIMs has started developing. So first were established in Kolkata, then other, then other, then other. Now IIFT has been founded as a deemed University of Government of India in 1963. And then soon, 72-3 onward, IIT came into the pictures, which also started imparting management education. But what has happened after that? After that, in the beginning of 1990, the number of colleges which has started has certainly diluted the quality of education, the quality of students, the quality of managers in the industry. Hence, in 1990, I think 2012, there were one survey has been conducted by Manpower Group. I was the member of that survey, and we could found that instead blaming industry that there is no vacancy in the industry, the industry list has given the opinion that 53% companies are claiming that they are not getting suitable candidates. The mismatch of this statement that the population of the management education is making a noise that vacancy to hai job is in scarcity, whereas the industrialists are giving their opinion that no, actually the vacancies are still there, but we are not finding suitable matchful candidates. So here is the gap arising in quality and producing the quality managers on the platform of PGDM and MBA colleges is because of mushrooming, and the number of colleges are increasing, and hence the quality management is very much challenging for all of us. So this is the management professional were expected to offer optimized solution for business challenges and lead the company to higher growth, surviving the competitions in the market. For this, we have to develop a set of quality among the students, which if we are not able to hire a good faculty, we are not able to offer them a good infrastructure. We don't have adaptability, though in case of PGDM, I agree, the adaptability is little faster than the MBA. But if we are not accommodating our change of speed with the need of speed of industry, would be little bit mismatch. And I think a way forward for management education in India is very much demanding our good speed of shaking the hand which is in need of the industry. However, the mushrooming of management colleges along with the structural weaknesses in management education, the quality was diluted and the many colleges pass outs were not perceived as business ready by the industries. It's a very real facts which we are facing while conducting placement drive also, and time to time while sending students on the internships and every time. Though the current wave of turbulence caused by twin influences of technology disruption and the pandemic has exposed the weaknesses in our management education, which needs urgent remedial action. Hence, this platform of the academicians to discuss way forward for management education in India is very relevant. The today's management conclave, for that I am very thankful that the CEGR has taken very good initiative to call all the academicians to discuss, and somehow in presence of the dignitaries like NBA, AICT advisory, and sir, CEGR owners and all team members, I think some conclusions must be taken by today's evening on the basis of this all discussion. If I'll see management education from the perspective of challenges, I'll see the challenge of lack of interface of industry is very much. The poor rate of technology adoption is still, and the archaic pedagogical tools are still there in many colleges. Many colleges are facing problem in delivering the online lectures, in evaluating, taking the online exams, internal evaluations, and so on. A lot of poor rates of technological adaptation is there in the India, which is diluting our quality of management education. The ill-equipped infrastructure, shortage of high faculty members, high quality faculty members, as Sir Professor K.K. Agrawal sir said, that we should not seek always PhD. I totally agree. But at the same time, we should be able to locate who can be the trained managers who can teach our students. Though the governing bodies are asking the eligibility to be matched as per their guideline. So here, being a management college, affiliated college, or maybe PGDM college, we don't have autonomy to hire a non-eligible documented faculty and to hire experts only based on their practical aspects, based on their practical knowledge. So here we need to come out with some particular solution through which we can confidently and we can officially hire those people who are not matching with the eligibility of eligible criteria. Then the another problem is enrollment of poor quality students. Though the AICT and the governing councils is having set guideline for enrolling the students in management program, but somehow the conundrum of quality versus quantity versus quality is arising in more than the 50% of colleges of management in the India. I feel like in view of fulfilling the number of seats, the most of the colleges are running behind the compromising in the quality of students which are being enrolled for the management program. Now, management education, a way forward to address challenges could be might be strong industry oriented programs to cater specialized need of industries like data management, digital marketing, healthcare management, business analytics, pharma management, as interface of traditional management also, behavioral finance and marketing analytics, and for different industry sectors, especially sector of industries can lead the direction of management specialization, namely fintech, edge computing based retail management, cloud based logistic management. These companies can take initiative to design the course curriculum based on their need. So the expansion of a horizon of specialization could be possible. Updation of skills and expertise is also very much is the focused area. So require revamping of design, content, and delivery of management education. Now there is one terminology called global plus local, is the localization. What is this concept? With the digitalization, the boundary is not the barrier these days. So a joint degree can be offered with the collaboration of global universities and colleges, which may pose challenge for domestic institutes to maintain a quality delivery, to maintain their quality in the own country. So by creating such kind of competition, a quality can be maintained by other colleges also who are based on the domestic country, and can they will have the kind of situation of survival for fittest. A demand for shorter duration economic courses programs can be derived based on this industry need, as we discussed. So a shorter duration programs may be the way forward for management education in India. So technical graduates, maybe they are technically very high knowledgeable people. They might not get need 2 years time in the classroom to get ready further for the serving the industries. They can be make ready within a year time by, or maybe 1 year classroom, 1 year on the job training basis by the industry. So
Okay,
the
you exceeded your time, Ji.
all right, all right. So I would like to close the use of technology also. The global accreditation is one of the way out to address this challenge. Dynamism is, of course. Now, the few specialization which are the need of an hour, which few colleges has already started: business analytics, digital transformation, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, family business, luxury management is the area where we can focus. Aviation business management also, sports management also. So, and especially the strength of our colleges should be focused, aligned with the upcoming projects under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, and the small businesses for entrepreneurship development, and the businesses which are now these days is picking up online and e-commerce. If we are making our education aligned with this, I think it would be the better a way forward for management education in India. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Kanak. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And now I would like to invite Dr. Amol.
Good evening. Very good evening to all of you. I think most of the points are already covered, and there's nothing left. In fact, but I would like to take your attention to something what I have observed and what I have understood in last few years in this PGDM program. So it is all about empathy towards students, right? And what I mean by it, like whatever is being done till now, starting from industrial revolution to IT revolution, then coming up currently with the digital revolution we are into right now. We don't know which kind of profiles which are going to get created by 2030, right? So 2030 will be a different ballgame. Herein I would like to quote one example, very informal example. In our ages, we used to go to a family doctor wherein the problems of the entire body was treated by a single doctor. And now the eye specialists are of two types, right? So this is what is happening in the economy. In the profiles which are getting created in this dynamic environment are completely different, completely new. And the skill set requirement for getting into those profiles are again different. So in fact, it is becoming tool-based. It is becoming tool-based. So somehow we need to understand, we'll have to align ourselves, we'll have to align our curriculum, we'll have to align our processes, we'll have to align our approaches, more focus on learning rather than teaching. And accordingly, we should take things further. So attention span is the challenge which I am facing of this particular generation we are dealing with. So rather than focusing more on processes and compliances and everything, we should focus more on understanding their attention span. We should focus more on how they can be engaged properly, so that the receptivity should increase. Because we all have observed this challenge, we have all faced this challenge, and this is what the key area is, which will help us. Because launching different programs, different certificates, different I would say courses is really very required. But simultaneously, you'll have to understand the delivery pattern, wherein every student is different, every state is different, wherein they are coming to us, and we'll have to take into consideration it. Our league is differently, and wherein we are expecting now that the students which are going to come again are going to be different, because the generation is changing rapidly. It used to happen in 50 years, generation is to change. Now every batch is different, their belief system is different, their memory techniques are different. We'll have to focus more on that to cater the need of the industry, right? That the attrition rate is increasing, and the expectations of these particular generations are again different. In industrial era, there was something called survival phase, wherein the jobs were for the survival. Then in the IT age, the jobs were for something called standard of living. And this generation is more focused on quality of living, and their expectations are again different for the center. We'll have to take in this entire ballgame into consideration, and accordingly we should move forward. Thankful for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Amol. Thank you very much. I think we had a pretty interesting session, starting with Dr. Puneet, who focused on specialization in the key area like BA, AI, digital marketing, and of course the pharmaceutical management, on which his organization has developed the expertise and has done a pioneer work in the state that they are present. He also mentioned the industry as a customer, which is something which is very close to my heart, and people often miss out and look up to students as the customers and not the industry which they are meant to serve as business educators. Then, of course, we had Professor Neha Sharma, who focused on implementation of NEP. And she shared a lot of success stories. I don't know, she mentioned it as a case. I think it appears to be open and shut case. PGM program definitely are the top business programs in this country. Amongst the top 100 business schools in the country, I think probably about 90 plus of them are PGM programs. She also mentioned that the PGM programs have offered a lot of choice-based courses to its students for many, many years. Over 75 plus courses, she mentioned her institute offers presently to the students, about 500 students there. And of course, she very rightly mentioned that being a focused program, pandemic challenges were best addressed by the PGM program in the last 2 years. And of course, we know that we had PGM program because they were industry aligned, and she also represents an industrial house. And generally, PGM program are known to be very closely connected with the industry, and that is what actually made a starting case. And I'm sure that will make the case for moving forward as such. Dr. Kanaklata definitely had divergent viewpoints, but I really appreciate the focus she started with on women value. It's extremely important and very close to the heart of many business schools, including ours. She also took us to the wonderful journey of start of management education in this country from the first institute and then moving forward. She made a wonderful case for suggesting a shorter duration programs and economic courses in economic effective programs for more and more people to participate in. She also made a wonderful case for global accreditation, and that in her viewpoint is the way moving forward. Last but not the least, Dr. Amol was amazing in his talk about starting with the empathy, which is certainly a very important aspect of any education institution. Why not only management education? And I think if you are able to empathize with the student, I think most of the job is done. He also highlighted the importance of the engagement program, because learning and transfer of knowledge or acquisition of learning will not take place unless the student is able to engage himself with the faculty members. There are challenges in terms of attention spans, and those attention spans and the challenges of attention span needs to be addressed by anybody and everybody in the business of education, if I can use the word. Because if the transfer of learning does not take place, or if the learning does not take place, merely attending classes has no relevance. And I think Dr. Amol emphasized it pretty well, that the institute should go beyond syllabus planning and look at engaging with the students on a continuous pattern, and ensure that the learning outcomes which are supposed to be targeted, or course outcome which are designed for the students, are met with the interaction with the students. Thank you very much, wonderful speakers and participants. And now I'll hand it over to Dr. Jitendra, who is the chairperson of the conference today, Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra ji.
Thank you, Professor Marwa, and dear elite panelists. It is indeed a pleasure to be part of this discussion, right from the inaugural session till now. I think we have been able to touch base most of the critical point that concerns management education. We started with the deliberation in the inaugural session, which tried to set the tone and made a wider perspective and that created a context for the technical session that was very well addressed and deliberated. So compliments to all the panelists who build on the deliberations and discussions of the inaugural session. Two, three aspects very clearly emerge from the today's management conclave. One is that management education is one driving stream in the entire higher education, which is directly related to employability and driving the industry talent need. So there are many other streams, but management education is predominant or leading stream out of all those. This is one thing that clearly emerged, and therefore the connect of industry to make the management education relevant, and also to make the management education evolve, that is very critical. So on one hand, it has to be relevant to the changes of industry, and secondly, in that process, it has to evolve to do better and support industry and also show the way forward for industry. So it is a kind of symbiotic relationship between industry and management education, which is one differentiator, and that every management school had, every management institute has to respect and look at and build on. Good part is we are seeing that most of the business houses, most of the corporate houses are coming up with management education, which make this job easy and which expedite this process. Second part is the management education is in a transition mode if we look at for all the three regions. One is the nature of education, the cost of education, this pace of change, which is creating a kind of concern for the opportunity cost. If I do 2-year program, I am going to restrict my earning for 1 year or for 2 years that way. And also I'm spending money. If we take care of all those things, they have become much bigger concern now, which were not so earlier, because the changes were slow, opportunities for job were not as many as they are now, the salaries and honorariums were not as lucrative as they are now. So everybody is trying, at the same time, the cost of education was not as high as it is now. So when we club it all, the other part is what should be the duration of management education, what is the ideal duration for management education, and that creates a situation to think and innovate the kind of program. One size fit all in terms of 2-year standard program may not be a case when we are going forward. So we need to think and innovate that what are the possibilities of innovating the variety of programs. That is another side that we could plate and try to draw a reference of from the discussions today. The third dimension is whether the general management is good enough or we need to go for sectoral management also. We had our panelists who try to touch base on this idea. That is another emerging dimension, because the businesses are becoming quite specialized in their approaches. So do we need to look at much of the or more of the specialized sectoral programs in management which are of shorter duration rather than having one standard long duration program? That is another area of discussion that we need to look at, and this is where the management education is going to move ahead. So these things are going to further shape the journey. And the most critical one, the regulatory environment, which in India has been created because of NEP, is a greater concern for a large number of close to 3,400 management institutions, which are out of which there are many standalone institutions, and they are the prominent institution in the management education domain. The three key concerns or three key recommendations of NEP, which says that all the institution can be of, or all the institution has to fit in only 3 categories. Either they can be large universities focused on research, or they can be teaching universities with relatively less of research and more of teaching, or they can be autonomous degree granting college. And for all of them, the minimum criteria for for student number is 3,000 for autonomous degree granting college or 5,000 for university, which, considering the very concept of having a specialized management institution, not mixing it with the larger domain of the higher education in the regular university system, it looks very difficult. And that's a big concern. One is most of the good institutions which are very old, they are in such a places where expansion is not possible because of constraints of land and infrastructure. Even if they try to do that, it is not physically possible. And if they are trying to be shifted to other places, a lot of things are going to be lost in terms of their entire effectiveness. That entire ecosystem is going to be disturbed. So that is another side of that. That is another kind of concern. So when we look at the management education going forward, so we are going to going to have left with no choice than to adapt, innovate, and evolve to remain relevant in all respect, content, engagement, pedagogy, the need of the industry, the duration of the program, and also we need to struggle with the regulatory changes to find our place to whatever work best to survive. So this is how I could sum it up with all the discussion that we had for good 5+ hours. So it was wonderful to have such a elite panel who brought in diverse view, and they have perhaps tried to paint the entire management education in a very, very interesting but realistic way. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, the panel members. Thank you, Dr. Marwa. Thank you, all the participants. And thank you, Ravi, for creating this platform. I think we need more time, or we need to have sessions little more carefully crafted with more themes and lesser speakers so that we can make it little more engaging. So we could take questions from audience and try to see that those who are attending, they could also have a voice, would make it a little more effective. Ultimately, we are trying to create a platform to have a voice for multiple people. So more people getting into it and engaging would make it more effective. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ravish. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar all.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Jitendra Kumar Mishra, sir. Indeed, what we can do is that we are planning a management expert committee where all the management directors can be the part of that, and we can have the regular meeting and they can deliberate on the various challenges faced by the management education, especially all the directors. They can have the virtual meetings because physical meeting is not possible for the, but in every 3 months the management academic leaders related to management colleges can meet, and we can start a process where only management colleges academic leaders will have the deliberation. They have the one-to-one meetings over the virtual platform, and they can discuss what are the challenges, how they can implement various ideas, what are the best practices, and every speaker may get 3 to 5 minutes and they can share their views, and they can, in 3 hours we can have around 40 to 50 academic leaders, and we can have the separate meetings for that.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Good, great.
Good, we will implement your idea. Next meeting we can definitely have on Zoom, but after that the next meeting has to be in Goa.
Oh, wonderful.
You are planning since a long time, sir.
Wonderful.
Let's have a management conclave at Goa now.
Yeah,
Great
thank
idea.
you, Marwa, sir,
Thank you
for
all.
the moderating the session, and thank you, Neha ma'am, thank you, Amol sir,
Thank you, Ravi ji. We are grateful to you.
thank you, Jitendra sir, and we look forward to your support in the coming time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.